Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order. And the first order of business is a motion to convene into executive session. Do I have such motion?
So moved.
All those in favor? Aye.
Yeah, they get married within the.
Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Prior to moving to open session, we were in executive session. And during that time, we did discuss everything on the executive session agenda, and we took 2 votes. I just want the safety comment about the exits, just to make sure people know.
Well, why don't you just do it? Because you stole my thunder. That's the one thing.
I really haven't been paying attention while you.
Right over there.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, chief, the safety exits are to the side. Please point. It's.
Okay, I do know where the American flag is, so let us stand up and say the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to have a motion for the approval of the consent agenda. Do I have such motion?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda to include minutes from the regular session from October 1st. Bills and from the general fund in the amount of $866,738.70. Grant fund bills in the amount of $139,057.03. And Northwest special education bills in the amount of $886.62.
Is there a second?
Second.
And is there any discussion on any of these items in the consent agenda? All those in favor?
Aye.
Do I have a motion to take item D, superintendent's report, to talk about employee update on NEASC visit and transportation from Hope / North Scituate Elementary School?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I did get a couple of requests to put employee updates on here, specifically as it related to the Clayville Elementary School. And so I thought it would be prudent for our superintendent to report out on her report first, and then if anyone would like to add any comments to that as part of the public comment, you're more than happy to do so. So with that said, Lori?
Um, Is that better? All right. Good evening. You have the employee updates in your packet. The only addition to the typed up updates that you have is the resignation of Chris Morello, who will be sorely missed. But as people know, he just passed the bar, and so he's quite pleased to explore that new opportunity for himself. So we congratulate him, and we certainly are going to miss him. Um, in addition to that, we have the resignation of the principal at Clayville, Miss Sarah Hess, and due to the abrupt nature, I needed to make a decision about administrative coverage. So I'm happy to announce that Lori Boudier, who is with us, has been appointed as the interim principal at Clayville. She's been an employee of the district for 27 years. She started out as a speech and language pathologist. She's worked as a 5th grade teacher at Hope and as a 5th grade teacher at Clayville, and most recently as a math coach at Hope. So Lori, if you'd like to say a few words, or if school committee has any comments.
I would like to welcome you. I do have to tell you, I know that the scores will be presented to the community on the last assessment tests and achievement, and I was beyond disappointed that our Clayville school went from a blue ribbon school down 20 points in ELA. 20. That's like unheard of. And so I know it's a tall order, turning these kinds of achievement gaps around. but it's a small school. I know we can do it. And so I just would ask you to work closely with Ozzy, and we have amazing educators in that school. They know how to do it. So I wish you lots of luck, and I will be watching from afar as you get us back into that blue ribbon status again, and the next trip to Washington, D.C. So lots of luck. I don't know if anybody else would like to say anything.
I just would like to say congratulations, Lori. Mrs. B. I haven't had the opportunity to see you since this all happened. On a personal note, my three children were fortunate enough to have Mrs. B as a fifth grade teacher, and they were beyond ready for middle school by the time they got there. Back in the day, I had the opportunity to spend some time in Mrs. B's classroom as a parent helper. And let me tell you, this lady worked those kids from the minute they came in to the minute they left. Your passion for all of your students is so it's just it's amazing. So to see you take this journey and to move the next step, you had fifth grade down pretty solid, lady. You could have certainly ridden out your days as a fifth grade teacher. And again, I had a little space between mine, and I just saw it getting better and better. So kudos for you for taking that next step and going forward and putting your talents to work. Very, very excited to have you in the position.
Um, Go ahead to the next item on your report.
Yep. I was asked, Mrs. Coletta asked me to look at if there were any increased transportation cost as a result of us moving some students from Hope to North Scituate. Stephanie and I and Jason reviewed all the information, and we've confirmed that there have not been any additional costs to transportation for these students. Per our transportation contract, we pay a daily rate of $462.16 for each bus that we utilize. And that rate does not change based on occupancy or mileage. So we've not added any buses. So there have been no additional expenses for those students. The high school is scheduled to have its NEASC, New England Association of Schools visit this year. The visiting team will be here from December 8th through the 11th, which is right around the corner. In preparation for that visit, the high school teachers and administrators and staff have been working really hard to prepare the report for the visiting team. We did have an opportunity to meet the gentleman that will be chairing that team late last week. And he got to tour the building in preparation for his visit. The staff has completed a self-reflection, a school summary report, and current situations in the school for the team to review. They will use these documents to guide conversations with the school community. They will hold meetings with students, parents, teachers, support staff, building administrators, central office administrators, and school committee members. When I know the schedule for conversations for school committee, I will reach out to you to determine availability for those meetings. They will be held during the school day. After the visit, the school will have a report that Mike will receive and the school leadership team, and it will be a draft report. They will review that NEASC report with their liaison, Kathleen Montenago, to ensure that it reflects fairly on the school and it's factually accurate. They cannot contest the findings of the report, only that it's factually accurate. We feel like the school's done a really good job in preparing for the visit, and we anticipate a favorable report that will help guide the continued improvement of Scituate High School. And that concludes my report. Just to maybe swing back to Lori and her first week, I did have a conversation with Officer Parenti late this afternoon, about 5 o'clock, where he notified me that She has already been in touch with him, and Clayville will have the Division 3 boys soccer team for High Five Friday. So that's a great thing. That will be happening. So well done. Well done for the boys and well done for Clayville.
Okay. Does any committee member have any questions for Lori regarding this? The new principal it's interim, correct?
It is an interim position.
Is that posted?
We will post the position when we get closer to the middle to the third quarter of the school year.
Okay, so it's
And do
interim.
the
Okay.
interview process. Yes.
That's great. Yeah, because like I said, the scores have been steadily declining in the last 2 years. So I'm hopeful we can turn this school around. Okay, I'm going to open this up to public comment.
Oh, there I am. Good evening. My name is Desiree Martinelli. Do I have to give my address? 62 Carew
Yes.
Drive. I was here at a meeting humbly by myself on April 30th. And I said to this committee that we had a serious and significant problem at Clayville Elementary School. It was right after our interim principal left. And I said, we have a serious decline of morale and we have a serious issue with what's going on. Now we are however many months later, and we have now lost another principal. This is not anything. We are very, very fortunate to have Mrs. B. I am a huge, huge fan. But let's not, you got lucky that she was there and available and able to take that position. And you came and you said to me, we need data because you're telling us the feelings and you're telling us how you feel. And you say, we need data to prove that there is a problem. And now you have the data. Do you not? With your ICAS scores, would you not say that your scores are a reflection of what has transpired at Clayville, given that there has been a lack of consistency and there has been a lack of attention to the school, which I came here and said to you, which seemed to fall on deaf ears as far as I am concerned. So now we have a community of parents and teachers. Yes?
May I just interject?
Mhm.
When you say that you came here, are you making an assumption that nothing has been going on to try to correct the things that are happening in that school since you spoke and until the principal left?
I have not seen anything
But that does
transpire.
not necessarily mean.
Well,
I want to tell you right now, you're not going to, we're going to ask you to be removed if you speak out from your chair, okay? I respect you're here tonight. I believe parents need to advocate, advocate, advocate. Just show some respect and you'll have your chance, okay?
So what? Yes. So since then, we have lost another principal. So yes. So from our perspective, how can you think that we would have thought anything would have changed given that we lost someone else? So I guess that's the question that I have. So I was here saying to you, we have a problem. And then we now have a large problem because now we've lost somebody else. So I'm interested to know at what point, and I was interested to know in April, and I am even more interested to know at what point do you look at a higher level of why these people are leaving? Can you explain to me, and not only leaving, but they're leaving in an abrupt fashion. These are not people that are giving their notice. These are not people that are they're leaving instantly. They're leaving.
Can you tell me anyone else that just got up and walked out the door without giving us a notice?
Mr. Bro left. which was our interim principal. He gave
Well,
no
he was,
notice.
he was an interim.
So does that mean that you leave
And
instantly?
he had I can't, I don't want to say that because there were extenuating circumstances behind every one of these departures. Every
So
single one.
I am, okay,
Whether it's
okay,
medical,
okay.
whether it's them going to get a $20,000 increase at an urban district, we can't control that. And it's happening in every single suburban district across the state.
I know for a fact that in multiple of these cases, and I'm certain that there are board members that know for a fact that it was brought up that the administration was a major concern for why these people were departing. That is for multiple cases.
Okay.
So the idea that you,
That's not my experience, but if that's what you think, that's fine.
so I know for a fact that Ms. Hess, it was due to administrative difficulties. I know that. I know that. So I'm not saying that there were not other options, and I'm saying the same for Courtney Francis. I'm not saying that, yes, she was maybe given more money, but I'm also not accepting that that was the only issue that she had. And if you think that you are that naive or that I am that naive to think that the only reason that she went was because of that, if she was happy, she wouldn't have been looking.
Was
So
that Courtney?
that is Courtney.
I've had several conversations with Courtney in Barville, and Courtney was this close to coming back to our district.
And
until
why-
They counted again. So I know
Okay.
that you, again,
Okay,
assumptions are
that's
being
fine.
made, but I have spoken to Courtney at least 3 times. And specifically when this position or another principal's position open, we called her. We both called her and asked her if she would consider
I
coming
would
back.
also like to know if exit interviews are being conducted upon these people's departures and who is conducting the exit interviews.
It's an electronic exit interview where the person, it can be completely anonymous if they want to. I did not want to set up a system because we don't have an HR person where someone had to come to me and not necessarily be honest and straightforward. So it's an online system where people can go and fill it out anonymously. And I don't look at them. They go back to Patty unless someone raises something to me that I need to take a look at.
So I want to jump on that for one
Sure.
second. So I do know that as a small district, we don't have we did have an HR director, a part-time HR director at one point, and that was one of the things that I'm a firm believer in exit interviews
Mhm.
for a multitude of reasons. So I think that's something that we could probably do better at. I'm not going to tell you we're hiring a full-time HR director because
Sure.
we just don't have the bandwidth to do it. But maybe there is another option besides, and I don't know what that is, but I think it's something that we could explore. And something that, yeah, you get something in the mail. Do I know who this goes back to? Do I not know who this goes back to? So, and this is, I'm thinking
Sure.
out loud at this
Yeah.
moment. So I think that's something that we could certainly Lori, I personally think that I don't know what the answer is, but I think that maybe there is a mechanism, maybe a consultant, maybe something that we could, maybe there's a
I'm willing to have the conversation if people have suggestions for me to take a look at that. I just wanted to be sure that people felt safe to be honest in whatever system we have.
I think that's a valid point. So I'm taking note of that. So I think that's something we can look to do better at in the future.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I guess I think it's the lack of accountability that you think that nothing, you just think it's just people leaving the district for all these other things. I think that that is just unacceptable from a school committee. I'm sorry, when people are telling you and your constituents are telling you that there is a problem, with the administration. I am not the first person here. I have multiple people here. There are more people online, and I'm certain that you have heard multiple things from multiple people by email. I am not the only person that is up here saying this. So the fact that you can sit here and act as though there is not an issue with the administration is an insult to all of us.
I just want to add, have you and your other parents going personally to the superintendent to voice your concern.
Yes.
The other issue is the principal
Mhm.
left without even giving a notice. She just packed up.
She did. I find
My
that
personal
concerning.
opinion is very unprofessional. You're
Uh,
dealing with the students and the parents, that she should have gave at least a notice.
But don't you think it must have been such a dire situation that somebody would leave that abruptly? Someone that is a professional?
But
Don't,
you honestly, do you think if it was that bad of a
yes.
toxic, if it kind of sounds like you have a toxic environment at the school, Mrs. Boudiette, who I know very
Yes.
well, would take a position if the environment was like that.
I mean, I guess we'll have to see how long she stays.
I know.
I mean,
You're right.
Right? I mean, sometimes you don't know unless you are in a position. So it's easy to say, yeah, we walk in and we think it's one thing
Can
and
I
then it
just-
can turn out to be
I want
another.
to interject. I see a show of hands, how many people would like to make a public only because I'm going to,
Yep.
okay, so there's just one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I'm only
No, that's okay. I know.
7. Okay.
Do we have- how
Whether
many-
or not it's on this or any issue that you'd like to come
No, that's
forward.
I
okay.
just want to make sure we have
No,
equal
enough time.
for
Yep.
everybody.
No, that's
I
okay.
love it. Not to.
Yeah.
No,
you get
that's
it.
okay.
I just want to just,
Okay.
Yeah.
oh, there's a couple of hands
Yep.
out
Yep.
there as well. Okay, fantastic. Listen, I hear what you're saying. I feel like that there's things happening, and because of the situation, we can't bring every single fact to the table, but there is another side to this story. And I just wanted to let everybody know that. And that side has come to the school committee. That side, when everybody left to go to another district, every single one of us understood why that happened. And to be honest with you, not having continuity in a classroom is a huge concern for any educator. But I have to tell you, it's getting harder and harder to educate today, to get educators today. It's becoming hard. It's hard to get teachers. It's hard. We're in the middle of paraprofessional negotiations. We can't. One father out there told me at the Halloween parade, he's on his 3rd paraprofessional because we're losing them to higher paying districts. That's what they're telling us. So I understand that everyone has a perspective on what is happening and why this happened. And all I would like everyone to understand that this is not happening in some kind of a vacuum. You have 5
listen,
people up.
yeah,
No, Desiree, let me just finish one other thing. And what's really concerning, people are making these types of assumptions. They're not correct. They are going on social media. It's not correct. And it's cruel. And by saying some of these things, and here's the bottom line problem, it's going to ruin our school district, number one. It's going to make it harder for us to retain educators, retain these paraprofessionals. And God help us, we can't find principals in the state, not here. And the only one that's the hardest of all to get is a superintendent of schools. So be careful what we are all wishing for, because nobody wants to be in education today. Nobody. And I am concerned. I'm concerned about our own teachers. I'm concerned about our administrators. But I'm asking the parents. I know that when a decision doesn't come your way, it's not because it's being done in a vacuum. We have to take a step back. You have to get up on the balcony and you have to look across to find out why those decisions are made. And sometimes all those facts can't be put out there because whether it's a personnel issue, whether it's a legal issue, and so on. I just wanted just to say that because I know that there's a lot of people, I've gotten the emails, there's a lot of you are upset. But I just want to let you know that this school committee is not operating in a vacuum. And I am probably the accountability queen. And people are probably going to be saying, thank God she's leaving. I know that some people here tonight, which is fine, but I do hold accountability very close. And when you're a tough leader and you hold people accountable, you're not a popular leader because you have to make decisions that are not popular, but are better for kids and for the entire school district and for the budget and for all teachers and all students. And so that's my
I think Eric wanted to
statement.
say something.
I have a favor to ask of you. I'll start by saying I won't assume what you're thinking without speaking to you first. And I ask you to not assume what I'm thinking without speaking to me. I don't think we've ever spoken. And I feel like for those people in the audience I've reached out to, I call. If you send me an email, I'll send you one back. I'll send you my telephone number. But to be accused of thinking a certain way without speaking, I just ask for the courtesy. I won't do it to you. Please don't do it to me. Please call me or send me an email.
I have sent you all emails. I sent you all emails regarding a situation about building sub. Um, so I have sent you emails of which I've got no response from anybody. What I have a problem with, if you want, so what I have a problem with is that you are now putting it on us and telling us as parents that we are on social media and then we are making it difficult and that we don't understand what is going on and that there are difficulties. I work in other school systems as well. I understand the difficulties that are there. I 100%. But that does not mean that we will lower the expectation for our children. And I feel like that's what you're saying is it's hard to find superintendents. It's hard to find principals. It's hard. And that I know that that might not be what you mean, but that is certainly what it feels like, that we should be glad that we have somebody. But if, and you're telling me how difficult it is to keep teachers and to keep principals. Yes, I understand that. But again, I think we are having a problem keeping the ones we have due to our administration. So you're telling me, yes, it's very, very difficult. Yes, it is. I know it is in every area. I am fully aware of that. But also, yes, we are having challenges to what seemingly seems like because of administration.
Desiree, I'm going to ask you to wrap up, but
Yep.
I'm going to just say one more thing and then you can respond. Keep in mind too, that this is not what we're seeing in other schools. You may, in Hope, there was a decision about a class size, but I've spoken since this started with other administrators, and that's not how they feel. So I don't know who you're speaking to or whatever, but the, that's not our understanding up here that this is, you know, it's throughout and it's the entire, every single school. We're not seeing it. And I just wanted you
No,
to
that's
make sure
okay.
that I
And it
know
could,
that.
and it could be, and it could be specific.
Yeah. No.
It could be specific to Clayville and we're feeling the brunt of it. And I'm not saying that it isn't. It doesn't feel like that. I am somebody that is in the community a lot and I speak to a lot of people within the community and not just in Clayville. Obviously within Hope, we had the difficulties with the classroom sizes, which we have been saying at Clayville for a very long time because our classes are normally the ones that are maxed out and we have the larger class sizes and we have been asking to redistrict as well, which has been an issue for us. You know, there's a lot of people that have a lot of concerns and, you know, we don't know everything that happens behind closed doors, but neither do you. You don't know everything that happens with us as parents, with our students, or you don't know all the in and out day-to-day things where you're not going to talk to you about every single minor issue. So, right, you might look at one thing, one big issue when it comes up, but you don't know all of the other things that we are also dealing with as well that don't really need an email to you. They're small. They're not ones that need that. Our scores were lower. I would like to say that I personally pulled my children from the RICAS testing. My son was in 5th grade and my daughter was in 3rd grade. Part of that was because I felt like our school was not valued. Not all of it. There was multiple things, multiple reasons why I pulled my children, but I think that it's unfair for our school to sort of become, we are the blue ribbon school, and to sort of get these accolades. And I felt so incredibly disrespected that the superintendent did not go to our blue ribbon ceremony. And I felt like to take all of that, and then it felt like you were using our kids in a way. Like it felt like, okay, you're going to get all of this. And then based on our kids' work and not show up for them. And that to me was an insult. And it was an insult not to me. It was I don't care. It was an insult to those students and to that school who worked so incredibly hard. So I did. And again, I think that there's a multitude of other reasons. I did not push for any other parent. A lot of parents didn't know that I pulled my children. A lot of parents didn't know you can pull your children, which you can do.
I hope that that's not going to be the trend because.
So I think for time
Yeah,
purposes.
No, that's okay.
No, and
No,
I just know
but
that
you
people
got
that
one
wanna-
no,
behind you.
Yeah, so-
and I'm happy that they're
And you know
here.
what? You're
Congrats.
articulate, you're bright, you understand education. I'm hearing you, but I'm asking just to be a little bit open that there are other extenuating circumstances that are there that can't be discussed. The school has been declining for 2 years. Culture has to do with the building leader. And I'm hoping with our new principal.
No, I am. I mean,
We're
no,
gonna get
no,
this.
yeah, no one's more excited than I am.
Take it away, Lori.
I know.
I mean, I am. I'm very, very excited. I'm
We're
a
looking
big
ready
fan.
for
I mean, right, it is.
We're looking forward to
So
it.
I hope that that is not the case or the
I
trend.
think moving forward, I think
But-
moving forward for just for housekeeping purposes, we probably should keep it to about 5 minutes if we want to get through everybody. So I don't want to rush. And if we need to go back, we'll go back. I want everybody, I just don't
Thank
want,
you, Des.
I want everybody to be heard.
It's Matthew Allen, 159 Hope Furnace Road. I'm gonna make mine quick because I too went through this all summer long. So one, I'm glad Jason got the fence fixed as a safety and the bricks. Although the janitor did scrape off the walls in the bathroom, that looked so gross when I showed you the pictures. They have not been painted, and as far as I know, it's so moisture behind it that it's going to happen again. So I feel like we need to look into something to cover it. And again,
So this, I just clarification. And
for Hope
this,
Elementary.
this is my time, not yours. I'm not putting
Yeah.
these minutes on you. This is something that you brought up last,
Yes, at
two-
the last.
and it's still not resolved.
Not all of it.
Okay.
The fence did get fixed for the holes for the kids to be able to get
Yeah,
out.
yeah, I did. Yeah.
And
yeah,
and
yeah.
the bricks did
Yeah.
get done. I don't think our vestibule is completely done, but I'm
And there may be extenuating circumstances.
and I
but it
may
sh-
be part and I may be mistaken for our president of the PTA. But if it's just coming down to paint and it
No,
doesn't
you're not
break
painting.
any
You're not painting.
any
No,
codes
no,
or
no,
whatnot,
No,
but to throw a fresh coat of paint on
No,
it, but
no.
the
but your
bathroom in the
advocacy
bathroom.
is helping because we're
And-
making things better.
And
Yes.
I know it doesn't really have to do with Clayville, but sort of does. My second is I'm glad they have an interim principal, but if I'm correct, you're pulling her from Hope working with math.
Mhm.
And is someone going to replace her? Because you said theirs
Yes,
went down,
yes,
so
it's
I hope
been-
theirs go back up.
Yes.
But we are
Yeah.
listed as the lowest in the district, so pulling an excellent person.
We agree. We agree. It has already been posted. Ozzy is working with Becca, and I know that Lori also wanted to have her hand in a little bit. So
And my other question, again, I'm not wishing it upon anybody that she leaves the district. But if she leaves and decides not to stay as a principal, would she be able to come back to the math position?
Wait, what's this? Your broker right here?
I'm
So-
like, again, I hope
so
it all works
can
out,
I-
but you said
can I-
interim.
doing a good job
No,
there.
I
let
think
me
You're
tell you.
talking about
No.
interim and
So
Line 'em up,
Lori,
Lori.
answer that because that was, I will be very honest with you. When I hear what you're saying, this just came out of kind of like, and we get it. Like, I was so sad to see Mrs. B leave Playville initially, but then she was moving on and upward and doing something different. One of my first questions when this happened is, oh my God, we got to get somebody in there, right? Because
Yes.
but we can't hold her back. She just,
Oh, no, I
and
agree.
I know that's not what you're saying. And my other question was, and just knowing Mrs. B as an educator and and let's hope this is forever, right? But if it wasn't going to be forever, my question to the superintendent was, contractually, does she have the
She
ability?
does.
Okay, and if it was
Alright.
any
She does.
teacher doing it, and yes, she does. I can't make her go back.
She's
No,
a
that-
No. I'm just saying if someone decides to
yeah, no,
pull a
She is-
magic rabbit out of a hat
Yep.
and finds, I'm not saying there is a better
No,
principal, but finds a better one if
Yes,
it does
no.
get
She has
posted.
taken a leave of absence from her 5th grade. It's okay to share this, Lori.
yeah, but I
started
think we can say
saying it and
contractually. I think the easiest thing to
The
say.
contract covers her. She is
So
protected.
no matter what, if she doesn't stay, she does have the option to come back.
She is protected, yes. Yes.
And it's a 1-year position, so I wasn't going to be there after this year. If it had been put in as another year grant from the state, then I could apply again, but it wasn't technically mine.
Okay,
But
When
it's
I'm
not,
But having
the
said
alarm
that,
goes off, it means that there's 1 minute left. So
But
you can
I
grab
took
that.
a minute.
I,
you
I
didn't.
don't want to take your time, but having said that, we will be looking closely at the effectiveness of that coaching model. And if the data shows us that it really has helped and supported kids, then we will find a way within the current budget to continue that
So-
program.
it's just a contracted person. So she's not attached to that grant. Because I know sometimes you guys
No,
throw legal jargon in
Mhm.
there and say it's one person's spot. So
No.
somebody could come in.
No,
No.
it needs to be whatever Mrs. B met the
Plus,
qualifications
Alright.
for
she's
that.
protected by the union as well. so-
Okay, well, I'm just clarifying for my own sake.
Yeah, and this is my minute. And I remember reading this somewhere. Maybe some of my union people can help me. I'm 95% sure, I'm not sure if it's Rhode Island law, if it's in our contract, that if one of our educators moves to administrative position, is it a 1 year or three? Okay, thank you. Rhode Island law. And I'm a huge, I love that because I like nothing more than promoting our own, but we don't know. And again, kudos to Mrs. B and to anyone that makes that. They're so good at what they do in the classroom. They may go to an administrative role. I hope this doesn't happen, Laurie, and be like, dude, this isn't for me. I miss my classroom, right? So the fact that we have that in there is protection for our educators.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, I just
Yep,
wanted
good
to
questions.
cover bases because again, I hope it all works out.
Thank
But I
you.
also don't want us
Yep.
to
No,
lose
it's a good point.
great math person and all of the stuff that she's doing at Hope too.
Thank you for coming up and talking. Next, just state your name and
My name's Kate Galogly Lowell. I live at 18 Pleasant Lane. I am a teacher of 26 years in East Greenwich. My husband's a teacher of 27 years in Gloucester. I'm a parent at Clayville of a 3rd grader and a 1st grader. I've been on school improvement team for 3 years. PTO. I haven't been on the board, but I've been to every meeting and almost done every event. And thank you, Desiree, for saying what you just said. I had a meeting with the superintendent the day after, just like I did the day after Mrs. Carpenter stepped down. And there is a huge, huge problem of our principals and interim principals quitting and resigning suddenly. And it is not just because of personal reasons. It is not because of more money. Mrs. Francis is also a good friend of mine, and she did not go to Burrville for more money. She left because she didn't feel inspired and supported. Mrs. Carpenter left because she wasn't able to hire the staff member she wanted, Miss Torres, which school improvement team nominated, and so did Mrs. Carpenter. And you didn't hire her, and we rallied behind Miss Torres, who is an incredible, young, dynamic, amazing teacher.
can you remind me where Miss Torres was?
She's at Clayville right
Yes,
now in
she-
4th grade.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So
I
she
don't
was
know all
not
the
hired.
individual
She was not
teachers.
hired last 2
But-
years
but
ago.
I
Can
have
you
to
come a
say-
little bit closer? Excuse me.
Can I just-
She
can I
was not
just-
hired last
Yeah.
2 years ago under Mrs. Carpenter, even though she's asked for her to be hired. School improvement team asked for her to be hired, and somebody else was hired. We rallied behind her in such a way that we got her rehired. There is a huge problem, and sir, Mrs. Hess and I emailed twice on Sunday night before she resigned. She was so engaged. She brought her entire family, including her baby, to repaint the blacktop that we had done as the PTO and used our money. And she came 2 weekends in a row with her entire family and her baby, getting down on the ground painting. That is not a woman that is up and about to quit. Her school improvement team, the Thursday before she resigned, was dynamic, engaging. She was not about to quit. And as I said, I am a teacher of 26 years in East Greenwich. I have never experienced anything like this. You guys are an elected board. And if you're not going to listen to the people in your town, you're going to be elected off. And there is a problem. I am sorry, we have spoken twice. There is a problem with our administration and with what is going on. And I'm sorry, the way that you introduced Mrs. Boudiette, who is the most wonderful, dynamic, engaging teacher, was quite frankly rude. To talk about the scores at Clayville, our students are working so hard since COVID. I taught through COVID. They are working so hard. They are reading. Our teachers are amazing. Our parents are so close with our teachers. Our staff is amazing.
I'm
For you
sorry
to-
that you felt that way, but let me just say a couple of things about the achievement scores.
No,
This
I
is
know
from
what they
last
are.
year to this year. Okay, so
I-
we're beyond COVID. Okay, they actually came back and now they're dropping again. I
Correct.
just also want to say, our
But
high school
inter-
principal has been in this building for years and years. The middle school principal who came from Hope has been with the district for years and years.
They don't share a building
Caitlin,
with the administration.
Caitlin
They don't
has,
share a building with the administration. Mrs. Juliet was introduced in such a rude way. What has happened with the segue of Mrs. Hess resigning suddenly? Sir, she wouldn't have done that. She was an amazing person. Do you know, if you have been in our building, she took away her office and put herself in a tiny little closet to make it a breakdown space for students that needed a space. That is not a woman that's about to quit. She brought her husband, who's an environmental biology guy, to quality test our soil in our field that's always getting muddy, to see if it was a high water table, to see if it was a wetland. She wanted to get science grants for the property behind us to do an outdoor classroom. These were things we were talking about 1 week, one week, I only have 5 minutes, so you can ask your questions at the end. She was
One
going
more
to
minute.
put in for
you can keep going. I just wanted to
outdoor
give you your
classrooms.
Yeah.
2 weeks, we were talking about this before she quit. She would not have quit if there was not a reason. And there is a systemic problem. Mr. B quit unexpectedly, and Mrs. Hess came back from maternity leave on her own accord. This is not a woman that was going to quit. Mrs. Carpenter quit because she wasn't supported and you didn't hire Miss Torres. Mrs. Francis loved us, loved the teachers, loved the parents. These Wildcat families are so close. These teachers are incredible. There is a problem.
Thank you. State your name and your address.
Hi, I'm Kim Smith, 714 Hartford Pike. I am the mother of a fifth grader, Tinsley Scholl. I'm here because throughout the entire course of Tinsley's kindergarten experience, she's had inconsistencies. I've seen systemic issues where of course, the pandemic, but then we've had to fight for teachers to stay or be approved to be hired. We've had 3-4 different principals in our office, in our school. These levels of inconsistencies definitely trickle down to our kids. I too am disappointed about the testing, but to not take a different approach to be like, what could we do? What are we doing different or wrong that is causing these scores to be affected is why I'm upset. I don't hear this proactive language or conversation being had. I don't see discussions on external or internal audits, exit interviews, transparency with parents to discuss these problems. And I don't see us talking to figure out what we're going to do next. I just hear, oh, it's a problem to hire different teachers. It's a problem. I work in an industry where it's excruciatingly painful to hire people and people are going for different salaries. But I myself just took a huge pay cut to go and work for a place that is not toxic, that has a very positive work environment, because money isn't always what matters. It's what are we putting out there for these teachers and to attract the principals and the families to be excited and happy and more involved and not concerned, which would hopefully mean less of us here in these cases. So I'm asking of you, what are you doing to understand this? What types of internal audits, interviews, discussions, programming, outreach are we doing differently? I don't see this across other school districts, and I definitely know plenty of parents in other districts that are equally as vocal on social media because it's 2024. That's what we do.
But it can be unfair at times. And as I mentioned to Desiree, You're making an assumption, Kim, that nothing's been happening in
No
2
one's
years.
making any assumptions. I have not made any assumptions.
Then what makes you think that nothing is going on in the background to address the
I am
problems in that building?
I am
It's
asking
been
you, what
2
are you
years of
doing right
problems.
here, right now? That's why I'm here. I am asking for answers for understanding these situations. What is being done?
Why don't we
What
talk to you
types of-
about the process? Why don't you talk to them, Lori, about what the process is when we have a particular building or school that is either struggling, it's got culture issues, it's got, we've got safety issues. What do? We don't just go away and just sit back. We try to engage. We try to put support there. We try to build up people to get better. That's what you do in HR. And I teach HR at Roger Williams University. I know what HR needs to be.
It would
And
be
you're
high-
making, not you, Kim, I'm not saying it's just you. I feel as though the people on social media are making assumptions that no one's doing anything.
I think
Everything's like,
one,
whirlwind.
life's
It's not.
unfair is what I was always taught growing up. Two, if there's a perception issue, perception matters. People need to be transparent and vocal and have outreach with the families who have concern. If they're rallying loud enough that this is occurring and that we have petitions going on, everyone knows that there's a problem. So be proactive about it. Do the outreach, do the work. You are elected officials. This is also your job. It's our job to have the rallying cry. No one's making assumptions, but we are hurt and we are hurting and we are not physically seeing the different steps that are occurring. It is okay if they are occurring, but you could put out discussions. You can do outreach programs. You can say, hey, let's do coffee hour to discuss 1, 2, 3. You can have memos sent out. We have emails. We have all sorts of communication methods in which we can be communicating with the families about the steps that are occurring, understanding fully that there are points that we are not allowed to discuss. But I work in administrations where that is constantly the case, but it doesn't mean you have zero communication. This is a communication breakdown across the board too. Beyond the fact that I feel like there are systemic administration issues, personally myself, based on the limited experience I've had at one school district, which I am not seeing elsewhere, there's a communication issue here. It's huge. It's problematic. I'm done.
Thank you, Kim. Anybody else here would like to come up and say something?
All right. Hi, I'm Brittany Caparco. I live at 929 Chapmas Hill Road. I think everybody pretty much covered everything, but I did write a little something for tonight. So, thank you for coming. Thanks for gathering here today to discuss the future of our schools. I stand before you with my heavy heart, representing a growing concern among parents, teachers, and under the current leadership of our superintendent. Over the past few years, we've witnessed significant changes that are fundamentally affecting the quality of education that our children are receiving. The decision to cut down classroom sizes rather than investing in the resources and support our teachers and students raises a serious concern about our priorities here. Small classroom sizes can be beneficial, but the manner in which these reductions are being implemented has led to overcrowding in these remaining classrooms, undermining the educational environment we strive to maintain. Moreover, the high turnover rate of leadership within our schools is alarming. Consistent, effective leadership is crucial for fostering a stable and thriving educational atmosphere. Frequent changes disrupt the continuity that our teachers, staff, and students rely on to build trust and achieve this success. Parents are increasingly concerned that our prestigious schools are being dismantled, leaving our children without the high-quality education they so rightfully deserve. We need a leader who prioritizes our students' needs, supports the teachers, and values the inputs of the parents and the community. It is clear we are not moving in this direction. Therefore, I present this petition with over 250 signatures that request a resignation of our superintendent. In my hand, I also hold the lack of confidence recently presented to you guys by our own teachers in this district. Our children deserve better, and we must act to ensure that our future is safeguarded. Thank you for your time. I don't need to speak with you any further, but I will give you what I have.
Thank you so much. Thanks for coming.
I also think there should be an internal investigation on this committee and administration.
Just clarifying purposes, what type of internal investigation?
Everything that's going on here, but we'll get to that. I'm gonna put it for the next meeting. I think I have 48 hours before, right?
So you presented us with, you said that you had a petition that had 250 signatures
Parents in the district, yep.
and then you said there was something that was submitted that we had received by educators?
A lack of confidence from full teachers.
I don't,
When did that? When did that happen?
I think when you shut down their classrooms and crowded all the kids in one room.
Oh, was it from the parents
all their
or from the
resources. From the
teachers?
teachers.
Oh, that never even got to us. Okay.
so I'm sorry? How was this given to?
Not that, a lack of confidence from the teachers.
It's a lack of confidence.
Oh, no,
Everything
we
that
heard
happens
from the
is-
teachers, but we didn't hear any kind of a petition.
that-
of-
that- that was
I
been-
apologize. I thought you meant the lack of
No,
confidence.
it's
Yeah.
fine. It's
That's
fine.
what the teacher said to you previously
Okay.
before the meeting.
I do appreciate you coming to the meeting, picking up the
All I
phone,
wanna,
calling,
I just
instead of
wanna
doing it on
add
social
is
media.
sitting on this board, you make very difficult decisions. In regards to the Hope teachers, it was a financial decision. We had 24 students in 2 classrooms. The budget had to be cut. The town council asked the school committee that we had to cut certain amount of money.
All right, so I just, point of order, I just think that, and this is to my board as well, like, we need to get back to, I know the chair spoke, but he just called you on that, so I'm not trying to say, but we can't be asking questions, like, it's when people are at the mic, so I just want everyone to kind of be, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, so I know Bobby, you were.
Yeah, you guys all, hi,
Yeah.
Bobby Coletta, 9 Brett Drive. You guys are familiar with my gripes from all summer long, but I will just ask this committee, you guys are our elected officials. And if you guys don't hold our administration accountable, then who does? That's really my question to you. And I think you guys are in a very tough position. I think that I know that when I called all of you this summer around the Hope classroom, it was a surprise to many of you. And that should have been like flag number 1, that you weren't aware of the kindergarten classrooms coming down. You didn't know those specifics. And so I think that should have been a flag for many of you about how the administration was running things and what the communication looked from them to you guys. And so I just had a couple of questions that I thought that maybe you guys could answer for me. But like, what is the flow of information to the school committee from not just the superintendent, but from the principals and from the educators? Like, are you guys meeting with them? Like, how are you guys getting information?
So I want to jump on that first, and then you can, so there are some systems pieces. So we are individually, each member of the school committee has 0 power. Carolyn's the chair, so she sets the agenda, she hosts the meeting.
Yeah.
Individually, I am Colleen Pendergast, this is Erica McCormick. We don't oversee anybody.
Right.
It's collectively
Correct.
that we work as.
Correct.
With that being said, I hear what we're saying about communication and being open. We have to be very mindful of the lack of a chain of command, so to say. I don't know if that's the right word or not. So do building principals report to us directly? Absolutely not.
No, I'm asking
Do
like, what,
teach,
I'm
do-
asking what is the flow of information? Like, because you guys are trying to be our voice, right? You guys are trying to make decisions for all of us here, right? So that's all I'm asking is like, what is the flow?
So
Other than the superintendent's
yeah.
report monthly, how do you guys, because I hear what you're saying,
Yeah.
right? There's guideposts on how the information comes to
Bobby,
you.
I report every week to the school committee. I send them a full report every Friday.
But outside of the administration, like, how are you guys getting information from the other schools?
I want to say, you just brought up a great point. These are my minutes, not yours, promise. We'll start your clock over. So before I started this process, and I'm going to get into the piece about being a school committee member, and I'm going to speak to every single person in this audience, because I sat there too 10 years ago. Is that this in my mind, I'll speak for myself. So you have a child, that's the focus of our children, educating children. That's our entire district, right? And then from there, we have a certain amount of staff that are on them. We have a classroom teacher, then we have a principal, then we have, depending if you're at the high school, we have department heads, we have this, that go up to the superintendent, that go up to the school committee, that ultimately goes back to the town. the constituency of the town. So it's the process is supposed to be an ever-going flow of information. Everyone here is absolutely right. Every person on this board was elected to this position. So we were elected by the people of Scituate, whether they have children in the school or don't have children in the school. And ultimately, we are accountable to the voters.
Correct.
People have said we're going to be voted off. I encourage, I implore, I actually beg
No, I don't.
any parent to
Hold on.
step.
I don't think anyone's asking for you to be voted off. We want you to protect our interests.
No,
is what
but-
where
but-
we're at,
so,
right?
yes,
That's what we're trying to say.
But we want
but-
people to step up.
But that's another piece. And I say that in the best possible way. I know people are busy.
Not
I-
derogatory.
No, I started this 10 years ago or 12 years ago, whatever it was. I had a kid at Clayville, I had a kid in the middle school, and I had a kid at the high school. Guess what? My kids are done. And I'm still committed to this district, and I want to view those kids just like they're mine. You don't need to be a parent of a child to be on this board, but it brings such a passion and a voice. So I think your piece, Bobby, and I know I'm kind of going all over. Anybody, I don't care if you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent, whatever you are, if you want to run for school committee, call me. My number's plastered all over. I will do anything I can to give you any bit of information I can. And you don't have to be someone that agrees with me, because sometimes those are the best. But what's hard for us is to get back to your piece. I know I went all the way around, and they're going to time me out soon, I think too, but is we cannot micromanage the schools. That is not, I am a geriatric social worker, right? Like, and I know that's not what you're asking for.
No.
So we have to be cognizant of who is giving information, it's like,
Well, that's exactly the root of the that's exactly what we're getting to, right? Because
Yep.
you're getting a weekly report from the superintendent alone, right?
Mhm.
So if we're all going to sit here and say, "Oh, these are systemic issues," how are you guys going to know? Truly, right? And I mean this from the
no, I get it.
small towns. So you hear things, right? But like, and what is the accuracy, legitimacy of any of those things, right? And the
But
superintendent.
Bobby, the principals also do all those newsletters that they do that they share with
The
all
parents'
the
newsletters?
those all go to school.
Yeah, but that
committee
has nothing
also.
to do about building codes or things that need improvement. That has none of that in those. Those are like rah rah, like, this is what's happening in the month. That's
Right,
not,
but you're-
that's not actual curriculum adjustment. That's not any of those
Colleen,
things,
I
really.
think Eric is trying
I'm
to.
sorry.
jump in.
I
Sorry, go
was
ahead.
all over the place.
So, sometimes I forget that every 2 or 3 years, we just need to constantly, bring people up to date on about the Accountability Act, because every 2 or 3 years we have new parents here. So for those of you who are not familiar with the Accountability Act, I believe it's been in full implementation maybe 3 years now. And it really has brought a lot of the authority of the school committee away from us and down to the level where it belongs, which is predominantly in the school improvement teams.
Okay.
And so they make a lot of this decisions that we used to. It was decided by legislation that we are not in the HR business. We are not elected to hire people other than the superintendent, which many of you know, but
Okay.
maybe not everybody here in the room. But I am going to get to your point because I hear you. So if you were a parent coming to me and saying, "Listen, I'm having a problem with my son's or daughter's teacher," I would say, "Have you gone to your teacher?"
Yeah, of course.
And if, of course, right, I know I'm speaking to you, but I'm speaking to everybody who can hear me,
Yeah.
and not just you. And if you went to your child's teacher and you were not satisfied with that response, then you go to the principal. And if you were not satisfied with that response, then you go to the superintendent. And if you were not satisfied with that response, you come to us.
And that's where we all are, right? That's where we all, like,
so
unfortunately.
that's the flow of information.
Yeah.
To having said that, you don't have to wait until once a month to do that, which is why I was, speaking out, like, send us an email. Sometimes when I get an email, I don't always respond because sometimes I'm not hearing a question or a request for response.
Okay.
And Bobby, I have to say, you have been really good that way. I have had conversation, you were like one of the few parents that have had concerns that actually picked up the phone to talk to me, not once, a couple of times, lots of emails. And we were able, I know you didn't get the decision that you wanted, but at least we were able to have an open dialogue. I was able to listen. I was able to come back and have an informed conversation from your perspective with the superintendent.
Yeah. And I know that everyone's, pointing things back to social media and stuff like that. And I know that, I don't want the district to look any worse, but that's why we're here talking to all of you guys, because you guys are you are the outlets for us in order to make sure that this administration is doing the things that we feel like is in alignment with what all of our core values and all the things that Scituate is supposed to represent.
So
So that's why I would ask you. So just let me
Yeah,
ask
go-
my questions, and then maybe so we need to understand kind of, and maybe this is, you don't have to, as a rhetorical question. How are you guys getting information? Small town, a lot of chatter, great. But is there a mechanism that you need to employ to say, like, hey, we need to talk more to the principals? I know that I work in a big corporation and we have quarterly pulse
Yeah.
surveys that my team of 50 people report back on how I'm doing every month, every quarter. Okay. Like, it's not easy to see those things, but guess what? I love reading them. I love reading where things they think I could do better, my teams do better, what have you. So when Lori said that she, even the exit interview, she doesn't even read them, I'm like, well, that's a huge miss, because when someone's leaving, I would want to know, why are they actually leaving, especially if it's anonymous.
no,
I didn't mean to indicate that I don't read them, but Patty gets them. And if there's a red flag, then she brings them to me.
Okay. So I would say, like, what is I'll call them a pulse survey, because that's what we call them, right? Like, what is the pulse of what's happening, not anonymously? That way you guys can garner some true information that's not us being upset or superintendent trying to, make things the way that she wants them to be, or principals or whomever, right? Like, you'll get some unbiased information. So that's number one.
Can I answer that?
Yeah.
So for me to reach out, let's say, to a teacher or a principal directly,
You couldn't do that. I think there has to
No,
be a
I-
mechanism, right? Like there's like, hey, here's a district-wide survey, anonymous survey, and there's plenty of survey monkeys and everyone
I
else
want to
that'll
let
do
you
it,
finish, Bob,
yeah.
because I have some thoughts on that. And
Okay,
yeah.
so I would just like that there's some kind of information that's flowing to you guys that's unbiased, that you're not waiting on reports from the superintendent. I'm concerned because I know Matt brought up about, Mrs. B taking the position in math and everything at Hope. And it's like, well, we got this 1 year FTE, and now I'm too familiar with all this mumbo jumbo because I felt like we got like the rug slid out from underneath us back in May. But this FTE thing, right? So now we have this position that was funded for a year. Mrs. B was in it for 3 months, and now we're going to take her out of it. How are we actually going to quantify that position is a valid one in order to get grant money again? Again, I don't need answers to this, but like, this is concerning to me. And I think what underpins all of this and what's so concerning is 250 parents signed this petition in a district of 1,100. What is that? 25, almost 25% of parents are unhappy with the administration. Yeah, I mean, okay, or and that too.
Answer that. When I looked at when I looked at the catchment area, it did seem to go well beyond, like, I think the town of Scituate. So I know that there's those signatures there, but just to put it on the record, a lot of those signatures were not from our community,
Well, I think we could, I mean, these.
but it
Yeah.
could also be.
I know what, yeah, what you
It could, but I mean, if we really want to go down that road to actually solicit, and really stir up the shit, then
No, we're getting back to, I apologize.
Yeah.
So we're getting back to we're talking to you in the seats, and we're getting like, so I'm trying to, we're all passionate about what we're doing. So we certainly welcome you back to come up for comment, but I can't get upset with you when our members are engaging you in your seat. So we're,
Clarify that
Yeah, I know.
from our perspective there, when I
Yeah.
looked at the data.
Yeah. So I would ask that
It-
there's unbiased information that's going up to you guys. I would
I'll
ask
let Patty
that,
finish.
sorry. You guys are our advocates, and you are the only mechanism that we have in order to make sure that this is the leadership that we think is best for our community. As you have said, this test scores have been in a downward spiral. There's a lot of information out there around what happened in previous districts and all the other things, and all that is hearsay to me. But what I do know is that every time that I've talked to Lori, she's been dismissive, rude, not informed, no data, laughing up here. Like, I feel very frustrated by that. And I think I'm a very, even keeled. I try to make sure that I'm talking in fact and not with my own personal opinion. I was very upset with the Hope decision. But the reality is like, it came and went, and here we are, but like, things are not improving. And you guys are the only mechanism that we have to get to fix this. And if you all don't, what do we do? Right? What do we do? I've heard some egregious stories of things happening and things I don't even want to repeat, and I don't want that are egregious in nature as far as reporting incidents and other things that are happening. It's sad, and so I don't know how much you guys are all getting. You guys are in town, whatever, but like that, these are the things that are really concerning for parents. So, thank you for listening. I personally have no confidence in Lori, unfortunately, and I think many of us feel the same. But I feel like I've been trying over the last few months to like really like put it behind me, and then like things keep coming up, and I'm like, geez, Louise, like, how are we putting our kids through this? Like, why did I move to Scituate for this to be the situation? And I'm just sad by it all. Again, thank you.
Bobby.
Thank you.
I've never had to pull the microphone up before, so thank you. Kathleen Schmaling, 45 Colonial Road. There was a conversation about the way information flows, and there was a mention about the improvement teams. I've been on many an improvement team, elementary, middle, high school. I don't feel like that has anything to do with what goes on here. So I don't know where that disconnect is. So the improvement teams I've been on are kind of just what needs to be done kind of in the mechanical way in the school. That has not been this. And so if that's the case, then at every school improvement team, no matter what the school is, one of you should be there. If that's the way the information flows. That's my opinion.
It was my understanding that the school improvement team finds the needs in the school, how they're going to set those needs. A lot of it, not administrative decisions, but really the core foundation of what the schools need in order to perform better and
But there's an upside down to that, right? So there's a state mandate and then it comes down, 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 and then the principals come and say, okay, this is what we need to do. And so the one or two parents that are on that committee are helping. But if we're saying that the information is going this way, then way more parents should be on that improvement team, and it shouldn't be at 2:30, and one of you should be there.
I'm not sure if
The membership of the school improvement team is dictated and regulated by legislation.
Right.
So
It's not
they
school
can't
council.
sit on it.
Right.
I cannot
And somebody
sit
has
on
to
it.
report, because I feel like every time something happens, somebody is like, I've never heard, this is the first I'm hearing about it, or I don't know, or you're hearing it from social media. So there is a disconnect somewhere. So I'm piggybacking off of Bobby's comment. There's a disconnect somewhere. And so let's fix it.
Yeah, can I just go back to the Accountability Act, and because it is such an important state law. And I don't know how many, I know there's educators here, how many have heard of the Accountability Act that's here? Okay, so prior to the Accountability Act, and John, how long has that been in place now? 3 years, 4 years?
16.
19, so about 4 or 5 years, about 4 or 5 years. Prior to that, and I was just on the school committee, and you probably know this, we would, our role as a school committee would be involved in hiring all administrators. Their annual contract and their performance would come to the school committee. We would be helping pick curriculum. We were very much involved in the operational aspects of the school. Lo and behold, the Accountability Act comes. The Accountability Act not only takes the school committee out of the building, it takes the superintendent out and gives a ton of authority to the school principal. And in that is a structure that the school principal has to implement called the school improvement team, so he can make sure that he's got the breadth of feedback, or she has the
I'm sorry, if you could speak at the microphone.
you can't speak from there. If you want to come on up. Just
So people
only
at
because
home-
people from home can't hear you.
So I'm just engaging in what you're saying. You're
Mhm.
saying the Accountability Act, School Improvement Team, the principal, these are our jobs, hiring. I know this because I've been on School Improvement Team for
Correct.
3 years and I've been a teacher for 26 years. So when Mrs. Carpenter wanted to hire Miss Torres and School Improvement Team nominated Miss Torres, and you did not, and you hired somebody else that had no experience at Clayville, and then we
So-
all rallied behind as School Improvement Team because it is our authority, then why were we gone ahead? And that is why Mrs. Carpenter, one of the
So
major
as-
reasons Mrs. Carpenter resigned
As
suddenly.
a member of the school committee, and And I was a member of that school committee at that time. That decision was reversed.
Yes,
and-
because we rallied.
It's not just you. It's not just you. I praise you all, but there are people that sit on this committee that care about what happens in this district.
Team
And if there were
players.
decisions that were made that were not appropriate, those decisions were brought before this committee and they were rectified.
I'm just bringing up
But
what
can I
Mrs.
just say
Diaz
one-
was bringing up.
Yes, but I just
Because
want to
of
let,
school improvement team and accountability, then if that is the case, why wasn't what the principal, Mrs. Carpenter, and school improvement team had recommended
because
was
they
not
make,
given?
I think, and just correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm going to, oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to ask John to weigh in because he's the expert and actually does training on the Accountability Act across the state. I think that what happens is that they give the recommendation to the superintendent. They give two names. And based on that interview with the superintendent, a choice is made. To be honest with you, I don't know any of the people that you're talking about or that
And you should,
Scituate.
because Mrs. Carpenter quit 2 years ago because of one of this situation that you are just saying was school improvement team's job as the Accountability Act with the principal.
But I don't
So,
think
I'm
something
just-
like that would ever come up to our level.
It
So
did.
John,
It did.
It did, and it was rectified.
right.
It did, and it was rectified.
Normally.
It did,
John,
and it
do
was
you want
rectified.
to?
I want to
I'm
remind
saying
everybody.
normally
wanna
they
make it
would not.
very
There's a
clear.
lot of decisions going on every day that don't come up to the school committee,
I also
unless
want-
it's a problem.
I also want to make it very clear, the school improvement team is not all powerful. The
I'm
school
not saying we
improvement team
Miss-
is excuse me, it's a school improvement team is subject to the law. And the law requires, for example, if you're going to interview candidates, that everybody has an equal shot to be interviewed. If the school improvement team is going to make a recommendation, the school improvement team actually has to have a meeting where
And we
all of
did,
the
and we had
candidates
a
have an
hiring committee.
opportunity to speak. No, it can't be, I talk to Carolyn and Carolyn talks to Colleen and Colleen talks to somebody in the audience. Doesn't work that
That
way.
is-
And
Didn't
he's
happen
not
that
saying
way.
that happened, but he's
I
saying
just-
it can't happen that
I
way.
just came up, sir, to
No.
actually talk about what you were talking about, that I
Right.
agree that this is and this is one of the major reasons that Mrs. Carpenter quit. I'm just trying to be a team player
Right,
here
but I
and all be
do-
on the same page.
I do want to let you know that, and correct me if I'm wrong, it does come up with the recommendations of two candidates and then the
I
candidates.
understand that.
That's what happened, and I
Yes.
apologize if I don't remember that
And then thank
specific
goodness we
situation.
rehired Ms. Torres. I'm just trying to be all on the same page, be transparent.
I
And you had
understand.
brought up Accountability Act, School Improvement Team and hiring. I just came up as a school improvement team member of 3 years to say that this is one of the reasons that Mrs. Carpenter left.
Okay, but there's.
These
a lot-
aren't all
there's-
just personal sudden reasons. They aren't. Mrs. Hess was incredible. She was an incredible person. And we've lost
It
another
sounds
one.
like you were very close to her. I apologize.
I'm an involved parent. I'm a teacher.
I have to make it go up because I'm. Shut it off too. Hi, Maureen Kent. Is that on? Okay, thanks. Maureen Kennedy, 10 North Doctors Lane, Hope, Rhode Island, here as a resident, not an employee. I think I have a solution that would work for everybody. We're doing a lot of talking, a lot of he said, she said, I heard, nah, yes, if a parent had a complaint about a teacher not treating their child appropriately, an investigation would happen. If a teacher had a complaint about an administrator or a department chair, they thought they would be treated poorly, there'd be an investigation. The easy fix here is have an independent investigation. I don't know who could do that, maybe school committee
We've
members.
already done
No,
that,
no,
though.
no.
No,
Let
but
me
we've
finish,
already
please.
done this.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying.
I have never been asked, interviewed, nor has any teacher or anybody in the building, parents. I don't think anybody's been part of an investigation. And I think an investigation will prove yay or nay and stop the back and forth, name calling, upset. No, you didn't. Yes, we did. These are not new issues, Carolyn. In 2021, in September, I brought this to the school committee that we were having issues with turnover. It was a systematic issue. I'm not blaming one person. I'm saying the system's broke. Let's fix it. Let's get a solution instead of having this happen again and again and again.
Okay,
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? And we have one at home, correct, Michael? Okay.
Richard Finnegan, Ridge Road. Just want to congratulate the boys soccer team for the state
Yeah.
championship. I think they did a great job. I just want to say that I've dealt with the superintendent many times. I believe some period of times, she gets sick of hearing from me, and she always takes my calls, always looks into the issues that I ask her to look into. I do reach out to some school committee members. They do the same. So I hear the parents, but that's not my experience. So I mean, there's two ways to look at things, but I do talk to the superintendent quite often, and the issues that I bring to her, she takes care of, and I do appreciate it. Thank you. Grants. Who applies for the grants for the school department? I see there's a grant
Ozzy and.
on the,
It all depends what grant it is. Sometimes
Yeah.
if it's CTE, it would be the career coordinator. We get the regular yearly grants if it's curriculum based, or even with ESSER, Ozzy was applying for those.
so you have a staff person that,
Not specific, not
Not all
No, that-
set up. I do the financial
Correct.
aspect of the grant management for all 21 grants.
correct. So you do them basically.
But unlike the town, we don't have a specific grant. And the town has someone now, a consultant maybe, I think, specific to the town. We don't have someone on staff as such. But depending on, I know Jason has been involved with getting grants when it comes to facilities. Certain educators have been involved specific to certain grants. Obviously, our astute business office manager handles all the financial piece of it.
Do you get a little extra compensation for that? Like $60,000 extra a year? For
Easy, buddy.
We actually do get an indirect cost
No.
on our grants.
That doesn't go in your pocket.
It doesn't go in my pocket, but it actually comes off the cost of my
Helps it
salary.
run.
So you pay a lot less for me.
So I just want the parents here to know that the town, we pay $5,000 a month for a grant writer for the next 2 years. 60,000 a year, $120,000. You need to show up at the financial town meeting and put an end to this. I counted over 30 parents here tonight. If you bring another person, you'll have 60 people, and you can rule the financial town meeting. Any issue that you have spoken about here tonight comes down to money. That's what it comes down to. And you need to show up one meeting a year. And that's the most important meeting that this town has. And I need you parents to show up and vote in whatever you would like for the schools. The money's there. The town's been using the money for other purposes. And it's about time our schools get what they so desire.
Again, up at the mic for people at home.
We're gonna, yeah.
So I don't know if it was a threat to the members of. Oh, sure. Here's Madam President.
It's not just one meeting, and I'm just gonna comment on what Richard said. It's not just one meeting. It's not just the financial town meeting. There are budget meetings galore where things like cutting classrooms or different things for the budget should be communicated there. So parents know when they go to that big, important financial meeting, what they're actually voting on. I just wanted to.
That's what I was going to say, is that we should all demand at the next FTM that what was supplied to the town last year was vague, general. There was no details.
So that's specifically the reason is, and I think I'll jump back on, is to become involved prior to. Our budget is the only thing the council can do, and please correct me, Madam President, if I'm wrong. They can either pass our budget or not, the FTM.
Yeah,
but there are numerous meetings beforehand where we meet. We present our budgets. We meet with the budget committee. We have a number of budget meetings this, so it starts here with meetings regarding the budget here. Then we as a committee bring it to the budget committee, which is mostly town council members and a couple other fiscally, sound people that are on there,
Yeah.
where it's going through. By the time that meeting comes, and I think this is a great point, Mr. Finnegan spoke to, the town financial meeting is an extremely powerful meeting, but you need to know what you're voting on, right? Like,
Well,
so,
that's,
yeah.
that's exactly my point, is that there was this cloak of darkness on all, there was not enough information for us to make judgments or participate in that conversation, which we also granted the superintendent a 3-year contract, like the week after the whole hope thing, and it like skated. It was a disaster. But at any rate, what I'm asking for is that at the next budget, the cuts that are being made, had you wrote in there like, we're going to change to FTE. Most people don't know what FTE is. We don't do, like you're saying, I don't do this by nature, but we need to disclose. And when I look back, when I looked at the budgets from years past, there was detail on what was being changed. There was detail on what was being cut. Last year, there was none of that. There was no information. It was like this, we're 2 for 2, we're budget neutral. Yeah, okay, but we're adding a math tutor, we're getting the grant. I mean, it was less than transparent. I will say that. And so I agree with Richard. We all need to participate in there. But I would also ask this committee doesn't submit a budget for review that doesn't have the details in order for the town council to be able to say, hey, this is really important to our residents. How are they supposed to know those details? Like, that should be more disclosed, in my personal opinion, just from last year.
Bobby, have you seen the school's presentation? And I think
Yes.
Abby will
Yes,
point out that our school presentation is more detailed than any other department.
And it's prior to the town financial.
No, hold on.
It's got all the positions that are taken out and
I
being
know.
added.
It doesn't. Because if you look at years past, there's little asterisks at the very bottom that give more detail into it. This year, none of that was supplied. Look, go back and look. Also,
Is that on the website? Our
also,
budget presentation.
3 years ago, there
Put it on
was
the website.
there was enrollment data that was published by whomever publishes that thing that shows the enrollment increasing in 2024 and 2025. Guess what? Everyone sat up here telling me, oh, enrollment's decreasing. Those numbers aren't right. Well, you supplied all that information to the public 3 years ago, and then it was omitted the next 2 years.
But
So
the thing is, Bobby, and I know, let me just tell you, and I'm just trying to make a statement here. That enrollment data is done by the same vendor that does enrollment data in every single school district and charter school throughout the state. That data is not done by us. We have an independent outside
No, I know.
consultant, and and it changes.
I know.
We were very excited to see the enrollments going up, because when the enrollments got up, we get more state money.
Yeah, we know.
But the last showed our enrollments going down because of the birth rate.
No, I know. So all I'm saying that what my entire point was that there's a lot of detail omitted from the last submission. Okay. So that's all that I'm saying is, for all of us to be educated participants in this, there needs to be more detail. And for our town council and committee to give the monies that we maybe feel are very important to us, there needs to be more detail, because I would not have advocated so heavily. People would have advocated more heavily had they known it was eliminating positions in our most disadvantaged kids, right? So that's all that I'm asking for. So next year, when you write your budgets, that there's much more detail in there, like you have done in the past. So why it wasn't done in the last 2 years is beyond me.
Let Stephanie.
And truly, we have had multiple discussions through email that I've answered you immediately with any of your questions. And I do invite you to come to our budget workshops. We go line by line discussing what could potentially happen, why it would happen. We had 2 of them this year.
But you're employed to do that. I have a job to do. I would like to just be able to read a brief
But
of
not
like what is
prejudice that I
happening.
wasn't providing enough information. I'm trying to let you know that it is there and available if you want to see it.
Okay.
But I also want to
Okay.
let you know that that presentation has been the same presentation since I got on the school committee 8 years ago.
Carolyn, I would
But
like you
it's
to.
my template.
I would like.
And I know
You're
that.
right. You're right. Look. So just
I'll go back.
humor me.
I'll go back.
Humor me and
I'll
go
go
back and
back.
look at the last 3 years. Just humor me that much, please. Go back and look at the last 3 years and tell me if you feel like it's the same level of detail.
Okay.
That's all.
I'm going to go back and look.
So just a few more things on the, I'm Abby Groves. I live at 93 Hope Furnace Road. I have a question. The budget meetings that the school department does, they are a public meeting as well, correct? So everyone could come.
Yeah. Oh,
So this is like a public service, I think.
Yeah, no.
I mean, from my other capacity, we want to hear from the public.
Definitely.
So I think, unfortunately, we were finding out after the fact, you have to go to those school budget meetings where they're actually working through,
at
like
night.
Stephanie was saying, line by line. Secondly, please come to the budget meetings that the town has, because you'll see overall what happens line by line. And a lot of decisions, like they might come for the first night and we're like, you might have to tweak this, or the committee might not, not us personally, but the committee might vote to say, can't do this, can't do that. Secondly, I have to say that the presentations in the past, and I have my resident hat on now, have been a little bit more explicit about positions being cut and so on and so forth.
I could go
Historically, they
back.
have
I
as
gotta
well.
go back. I just
And
don't think there
then-
was a lot of changes in the positions
But
this year,
that-
but I'll go back
The
and
other
check.
thing I wanted to say, public meeting wise, and I know it's difficult for people that work, is that all the sit meetings, even though you're not on the sit team, they are public meetings, and the school committee does have a lot, according to the law, key actions involved with the sit team. So
That was-
if you're not already involved, I encourage you to be involved, because we want you there. And same with the parents or anything else. And the sit team is a community effort. So it could be maybe not you as the capacity of a school committee member, but there are actions that you should take on the sit committee. And through that law that John Anderson was speaking about. And also it could be things like businesses. So if you know local businesses that want to come onto the school improvement team or anything like that, please have them join us. But again, publicly, you need to come to these meetings and please voice your concerns, because a lot of the things that happened with the Hope situation could have, I'm not saying could have been avoided, I don't know, but your voice would have been heard a lot earlier.
Abby, can you speak just very briefly to, I know there's been a change in our budget cycles. We went into the 15-month. So
Now we're on track. So
yeah,
that shouldn't
yeah,
be a
exactly.
problem.
So moving forward from this point on, budget cycle, when do
We're going to be starting beginning of the year, so be ready, because, and you'll see them all listed in the Secretary of State website.
Yes.
They will, it says the budget, it'll be called the budget hearing with explicit agenda items. And on the agenda items, you'll see which department. So if the school committee will have one, and DPW, so on and so forth. And if you have any questions, by all means, please ask me. Call me, email,
Thank you.
but it's not just one meeting.
No,
Were they virtual?
No, I don't think so.
They may- I-
I-
they
ours-
may not have been
ours-
Zoom.
Ours a workshop, so
But,
they're not on Zoom.
Yeah.
Future, they would be televised, so these parents can see them at home. I agree with Bobby. These parents have a lot to do. They have children. They can't attend these meetings often. They do come here, but how many meetings can they go to? They have children, they have to bring them up. But the most important meeting, I'm talking to you parents, the most important meeting is the financial town meeting. And I can't stress it enough. So if you don't go to that meeting, that one meeting a year where there were 100 people there this year,
total.
it's going to be sometime before June 1st. It'll be before June. I don't know the exact date. The town council will announce the date, but please go there. And you need 51 or more people at last year's meeting, and you would get anything passed. Same thing, I would say this year, if you come with a group of people, you can get about anything passed. If it's a legal motion, and they count the no votes, I believe you can get the your motion passed if you come with a group of people. And just make sure that the boys soccer team gets the congratulations, and I would hope it goes up on the board in front of the
Comes in
school.
December.
Yeah, next meeting.
Hi, I'm Catherine Rashadlo at 171 Westcott Road. And I just wanted a quick comment before I have to run out that I hope that any thoughts coming into the meeting that are held can be put aside and afterwards, and to fully think about the input that's given as well. And on various topics here, from culture to budget and everything, as well as safety and transparency. I've had some concerns about that, and increasing transparency around everything discussed today, as well as safety. And so if ideas can just be put aside so that these input that's already been covered well, can be fully considered. Thanks.
Thank you.
No, I just to respond to that, if I may, like absolutely. So I'm sitting here taking notes as we're doing this, and there's been some things that have come forward. I'm listening. Like when we talked about an HR process, like that's something we need to get back to. Like it was brought forward. It was, I can't change it all, but I can bring it back to this committee. As we're talking about evaluations, I work in private industry. There are surveys of surveys of surveys. I think Bobby stated, like, it's kind of hard when you have your reviews from customers, you have your reviews from peers, you have but it's part of what we do. How, absolutely, absolutely. And that's exactly, so how do we put that in place? And these are things that are rolling in my head. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but it's by listening to our consumers, right? And you are the most passionate and you are the most boots on the ground. Like, what can we do better? I think it goes all along the line. Should our, we want feedback from our parents. We want feedback from our, should our teachers be evaluating our principals? Should our principals and teachers be evaluating our superintendent? And my mind's just rolling around, but that's how it works out there. So absolutely. So, and again, everyone here is very, very passionate, and these are your children. This is the greatest job, greatest responsibility that you have. So, please, I can speak for myself, and I'm sure the rest of the board. When we hear you, I know we can't always tell you everything that's happening, and I know you guys get that, but please don't ever, ever, ever think that it falls to deaf ears.
Thank you. I appreciate that myself. And then so that, as well as then increasing communication and transparency about all of that.
Yeah,
as well.
I'm a firm believer in transparency and whatever. Again, there are limitations to what we can, everyone knows that. Like, we're not going to, but whatever we can. This is not the Colleen Pendergast Corporation or the Carolyn Diaz. This is the Scituate Public School Department, right? So this is your monies. These are your dollars. Whatever information we can provide to parents, citizens, anybody, we should be doing. Absolutely.
I'm looking at the budget presentation and I would refer you to page 8 of that presentation that breaks out in detail.
That same page for last 3 and before that though.
Okay, we're
Pretty
doing it
much the
again. We're
same
doing it again. That's
template,
on you. I'm
so-
sorry.
Well, I'm just saying, because
I know.
I know that Babby mentioned it, because I've done this budget for the last 8 years, so.
I just want to talk before you speak. I understand your pain, honestly. If you're in and day out with a principal, you've gotten very close to that principal. And for me, it was very surprising when we get the notification. Like, I was shocked, really. However, it was too late. She already left. And I feel like, what can you do? I mean, if we asked, it'll come back, but there's other circumstances that arose after the fact for me. However, I feel, understand, because I've had principals that have left.
You can't.
We're talking about the principal.
Kevin, please, we can't, we're doing this all night now. Like, and you've been very patient. So please, can we?
No, I know, but I just want to say that I understand why they're here.
Yeah.
However, when the principal leaves so suddenly, it catches us off guard as well.
Okay. Okay. So I'm sorry, we're going to ask, please speak.
So
Just your name and your address, please, for the record.
my name's Carly Patnode. I don't feel comfortable giving my address because I have to. I live off Carpenter Road, on Carpenter Road. Okay. I just came up to say I wanted to, I'm trying to figure out how to say this. So you knew about our petition because clearly you saw and said, hey, the area codes go outside of the district. So you saw it. You saw the 200 plus people that signed a petition saying,
It was on Facebook.
yes. So
So how could I not
how
see it?
come when you saw it as like the committee, did you guys care that we
you know what
all
I
feel
felt?
this way?
You know what I
Not,
felt?
no. Did you care that we felt this way and felt like we had to sign a petition? The first thing that comes out of your mouth about the petition is it's outside of our area code. How about there's 200 and something parents that are concerned?
I was questioning it. That's all. And let me tell you
You are voted on here from us and we are speaking.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so that's number one. Number two, I want this on the next agenda, and so do these parents here about what we're going to do about the superintendent because we want to know we don't feel that she can do this job. So we want to know what actions are going to be taken to see if she can actually do this job or
I
not.
feel as though, and this, I'm only speaking for myself, I will poll the committee when the agenda goes. But at this point in time, there is absolutely nothing that I see based on the facts on both sides and what I have heard today that would even remotely remove the superintendent from where she is right now today.
So all the teachers and faculty that are leaving due to her bullying them, that's not a reason.
You know that there's
You're
four,
so
there's
afraid
four
of
other
how you're
schools.
so afraid of how you look, how our town looks, that you are willing to wait until all of us are enraged and concerned and everything else instead of just fixing the problems. You want to wipe them under the
There
rug.
is no problem to fix in my mind.
Okay, that's a problem. So
I don't know how.
there's
I don't know
the
how-
problem.
I would
You
ask
don't
the
see
committee.
any problems. You don't see us people that are upset right now.
Does anybody else feel as though that we have to put this on the agenda
So
again?
what I will say is
On the again, that's not on the agenda.
I put it under here, so I moved it up so we
The
could have this-
petition
Okay,
is not on the agenda. Patty, I want it on the agenda.
please don't point your fingers at the staff at the table. That's so disrespectful.
She's already
Please,
proved that.
please. So
Me, I'm disrespectful.
again, so what a committee, first of all, a personnel matter is never something that is going to be discussed in an open session.
Okay, I know, but I just want to know.
Again, if you come up so the people at home can hear you, just so it's.
So what she's saying is basically what I'm asking is like, what's your game plan in addressing our petition and our questioning her as the superintendent? Like, you don't have to tell us like what's exactly said because it's like personnel confidential, but like, we want to know what the plan is.
For me personally, and I'm just speaking for myself, I've been taking pages of notes. I'll probably go back and watch this meeting, which is why I keep on saying, come up to the microphone. So when you're at home reviewing a video, you can hear what's being said. You've all given me a lot to think about. So I can't respond now because I need to go home and really think about this. Because some of this is new, some of it is not. It's also different for me to have people come to these meetings and voice their concerns versus maybe what I see on Facebook or not. Oftentimes I don't take what I read on Facebook to heart unless someone reaches out to me or comes to a meeting. So coming to these meetings is important. And actually that speaks a little bit to what Bobby was saying. You know, how do we find out about these things? Well, believe it or not, this is one of the ways. So
And I'd be happy to put it back on the agenda for a vote of confidence or no confidence of the superintendent.
And
no,
I'm sorry, hold on, wait, no, I'm sorry. Vote or no confidence vote.
Excuse
I have
me.
a question. Is that just between you guys?
Asking somebody on the committee, hold on. Is that what you're
No
calling
pointing.
for?
no, I'm not calling for that. I just said that they've given me a lot to think about and I have to think.
All right,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I'm just gonna
Kevin.
interrupt.
Kevin, stop.
I'm gonna interrupt.
Kevin,
Listen, I am one of the biggest advocates.
I know.
We've been here many times. I am
So-
here all
Go to the microphone.
please, yes,
Just so when I
I
review
came
this,
here
I
for
can
something
hear you.
completely different and I understand you guys 100%. I have been in this district 15 years. I have been on every committee possible. They know me better than my family knows me because I'm a big pain in the ass. I want the absolute best for every kid in the school. Trust me. It is the reason I moved here. It is the reason I never pulled them out and put them in private school. And I could have many times. Getting angry, and I understand the reason about the social media, and I know we all do it, but I work really hard, and I know everybody in this room works really hard to make sure that our kids get the best they possibly can get. When you go on Facebook and you badmouth everything about the schools,
even though you may feel that way, and even though 90% of it is true, it gives fodder to every other person out there that wants to take us down, that wants our kids to go to other schools, that wants us to say, you know, it stinks to live in a small town. So all I'm saying is, you guys are smart. If you have facts, which it sounds like you do, flood them with facts. Flood them with facts. And I'll say to you guys, in my opinion, the problem here, you can't have it both ways. You can't say, well, it's accountability goes down to the schools and the principals have the accountability for it. But then we don't have an HR person that when someone isn't doing what they're supposed to be doing, and I'm not saying you are, hypothetically, there has to be an independent person that can be trusted by the parents to oversee it and to answer their questions. So there's a huge disconnect here. You have parents coming up saying, we have facts that somebody is not happy. And then you have a school committee saying, well, we're not really the ones to make that determination. We can't really hold anybody accountable for that. So they're frustrated and by right. So the fact that we don't have a human resource department in this town is absurd. The fact that we don't have anyone who's overseeing and saying, okay, let's find out what's really going on. Who's in the schools? You guys know better than anyone. The parents know everything that happens. And yes, things get exaggerated and things happen, but you guys have come to me and you've asked me questions and I tell you the truth. I tell you the truth because at the end of the day, I want my kids to be safe. I want my kids to learn. I want them to know what's going on. So all I'm saying is be respectful in the sense, and I know you're frustrated, be respectful because at the end of the day, that's all we have right now. We have to get answers from them. But you also have to respect what they're saying.
I
And
do.
you have to
I
do
do.
something.
I
Do
hear
something.
that.
And it's not to vote her out. It's okay, let's have a town hall. Let's all sit in a room. Bring facts to them. Tell them exactly what you know. And make sure that no one can prove you wrong.
Okay.
Because that's the only way anything's going to get done.
I just wanted to make sure, because it wasn't officially on the agenda tonight, the petition, that the next agenda has it on the petition. And I just kind of wanted to know more about like who does vote no confidence or confidence in the superintendent, about how that works.
The school committee's primary responsibility is two things. One is to oversee the budget and the finances, and our budget for the second year in a row is coming in with a surplus after resolving a $1.2 million deficit. So we're in good shape as far as financials go. And the other thing is to oversee the superintendent of schools.
So you guys are in charge whether or not she's
That's why I
confident.
asked the committee if they wanted me to put it on the agenda.
And I don't think that as a committee, Carolyn's absolutely right. So it is our responsibility to oversee the budget, and the superintendent reports directly. We hire the superintendent and we supervise the superintendent in our capacity as a board, not individually. So just like we wouldn't do for any educator in this building, I will never put on if there is an issue, I think a lot has been said tonight, and I know a lot of us took copious notes to review and to go back and figure out what we need to do, some big pieces to take away from this. But for me, just like I don't think any teacher here or any parent or anyone would want someone to say, I'm going to put a vote of no confidence on our next committee meeting. No, that's not.
I'm not asking you to say no confidence. I'm asking you
No.
to. So basically,
So if this committee as a whole feels that any superintendent, I'm not going to speak specifically to this, because again, just like we don't oversee the principals or the teachers, we do oversee the superintendent. So all of that is part of an evaluation, but that is not something, I am not in favor of putting a no confidence vote. Do I think we have things to reflect on? Do I think every concern, every parent brings forward, any teacher, anyone needs to have due diligence put behind it? Absolutely. Do we need to refocus on HR and feedback from all of our stakeholders? Absolutely. But to sit here and say that we're going to, I don't in favor it. And we are certainly not going to do just like I don't think anyone in front of a public meeting to be discussing somebody's job performance in a public session. First of all, that's a violation of the law.
so yeah.
I just responded to her.
She just
That's what I did.
responded to me.
So I don't speak again.
And-
I'm one.
What's totally inappropriate? Why don't you come on up to the?
Then we'll
Okay, then please be
disengage.
quiet. Thank you.
So the 200 plus people that vote her no confidence that aren't on the school committee, you don't think that's a reason to address her?
Can I respond
Not,
to
not
you?
in a public fashion like this. Absolutely not. First of all,
No, I'm asking just generally. You don't think that's a reason to address it?
I
Like, you
think
don't have to like give an answer right now, but I'm asking you if
I
that
just said,
petition
you
is
asked the question,
enough.
I'm going to answer it. Never mind a petition that was on you
It's
presented
not
us,
off, it is on
whatever
Facebook, but it didn't start there.
wherever this is, you presented us with something this evening,
Mhm.
right? Whether someone saw it on Facebook, didn't see it on Facebook. We as a board have an obligation to do our due diligence to digest this information and then make a determination based on that. So as we're all taking notes and as we've engaged back and forth, there is anybody, if this was about, I don't care if it was whoever, we certainly will be, but to say that we're gonna, because 250 people signed a petition and I'm valid, not valid, I'm not even saying that. We are not going to ask a superintendent to resign. No. In my, that's
And,
where I
and I
stand.
just,
And
can
anyone else
can
can
I
feel
just
free.
follow up on the petition as well? I know that people who didn't like that response, but when I asked at the beginning that there are two sides, I probably have a lot more facts and and information about this situation as a whole. And therefore, I feel as though that although, yes, I heard you all, and I think it was excellent. Some of it was very articulate, and you've raised and brought to light some weaknesses that we definitely need to work on, stuff that we've looked at in the past. But there's nothing that counters all of the other documentation that I have looked at as it relates to that, to Clayville Elementary School. And that's
I'm
just
not
me.
speaking for
I'm not
just
talking about
Clayville.
the other committee members. That's just me. I have seen all of the facts on the other side of this issue.
I'm
And
not
I don't
talking
feel
about
as though
one
we're in a
issue.
position
I'm not talking about one issue though, and neither has, I see some of these parents had brought up one specific issue, which is the principal at Clayville or other teachers leaving, but there's not just one issue here. So I'm one of the petitioners that signed because of multiple issues. Now, you don't want to talk about it in a public setting. So where are we going to talk about this? Where can I bring my factual information, my facts to be reviewed by the school committee? Do I email you? Because is it going to get lost?
No.
Because that's why we resort to Facebook, because we get ignored. We get ignored.
We're here.
you
We're
can
here
come to public
and as
comment
our,
again.
as our email.
But I think we've discussed a lot of this. If there's more that you have that you want to bring to the table, then definitely come to the next meeting.
So the next meeting, you want me to bring all my facts to the table?
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
yes.
Hi, Kim Smith, 714 Hartford Pike. I was wondering if we can request on the next committee meeting to have follow-up. If there's one thing I've learned in the business world is that we don't just have one conversation and we let it die. Can we put onto the next school committee agenda a request to continue discussions on HR and continue the development or discussion on
that
the
we can do.
communications team? Because communications, again, from my perspective, is sorely lacking.
So if I could ask, I would be extremely interested in meeting with you. I thought that you raised a number of intriguing, interesting ideas that I'd like to have a discussion about and talk about following up. So
I'd be happy to.
either I can reach out to you or you can call Patty and schedule a time that works. I'd be very interested in meeting with you.
I'd be happy to.
That'd be great.
You guys all have my email too, because I've written recently and multiple times in the past. And my daughter is Tinsley Shoal. I am a resident. I've been here for 8 years this year. I'm heavily involved as much as I can. So
Great. Thank you.
Hi, Kathleen Schmaling again, 45 Colonial Road. Still, I haven't moved. Two things. One, sitting up there is not easy. Thank you for everything you do. Second, there is nobody up here that has a kid in the school. Run for office. I get it, but a lot can. Please listen to me. It matters. It matters. It matters. I get it. Please run for office. Thank you.
So to add to that point, and we get it, everyone's busy, everyone's this, but I think it's a very important matter. Everyone's here, and if again, it's the whole cyclical. If you're not happy with out, vote us out. And I'm not putting those words into somebody's mouth, but I'm saying it. That there were two people who ran for. There were two seats up for school committee this year. There were two seats that were up. We're a 5-member board. We serve 4 years, and it rotates. There's 3 of us on one cycle and 2 of them on the other. This election season, there were 2 seats up. 2 people ran. And I'm making no indications about those people, has nothing to do with them. That's who was elected. So the next time it's 3 seats that are up. If 3 people run, they're going to walk in. So again, it may not be you. It needs to be somebody. That's the piece to that. So thank you. Thank you for letting me jump on that. And then we're going to get to, I think, the people at home too.
I was just going to say, for the parents in the room, right? Like, I don't think that we can ask the committee to have any kind of vote of anything. I think you guys all need to go back and poll your people and get feedback like that. I think that's what we're all looking for, right? I'm not looking to get any indication on what your feelings are of the superintendent, because I don't know how much detail or information you guys actually have sitting up there at this point. And that's my concern, is like, what do you know or do you not know? And that's why I think this poll survey, that I'm calling it, because to your point, if you were surprised that she left, well, there was probably flags along the way that we weren't capturing, right? So that's my concern, is like, all that feedback ahead of that would have been invaluable. And you guys doing that feedback and getting that would, and I think we also already paid the superintendent's contract is 3 years, right? So even if she were to resign, we will still pay her out on her 3 years. Is that accurate? Okay. So for all of us, we will still pay her salary for whatever the number is. I forget, I have it somewhere since you kindly provided all me the salary information. We will still pay that salary for the next 3 years, right? So us as residents have to be okay with that, right? If that's the direction everyone's trying to take. And I think that's why the committee is saying, let's see what things we can fix and tweak, because clearly there's issues, but we need to lay a foundation of what are the issues and try to take corrective action before we spend $400,000, $500,000 just because, we feel like this, is there a better way forward? So that's what my 2 cents there. Thank you.
Sorry, I never gave my name and address before. Bianca
We don't
Mancini,
know you.
665 Hope Furnace Road. I did have a very minor question that is nothing in comparison to any of this, but before I get to that, do you still have parent representation on the budget committees during the
Yes.
workshops? You still have a parent? Because when I first started way back when, I was on one of them, and I just was wondering if you
Were
still
you
do
at a school level?
school level.
Yeah. So you can so we obviously can't at this level.
Right.
So what happens, and I'll let Lori speak to this, is so all of the schools it's generally run by the principals.
Okay.
And then
The principals put their budgets together.
Right.
Those conversations should be happening at the school improvement team.
Okay. So
meetings.
they're not. So I'm on a school improvement team.
So
And I was on the budget committee, and that budget committee that I was on with other representatives from the community. Ray Griglovich was one of them. So he at the time had a student.
Where was
I wasn't in the high school though. I was at the elementary school at that point, and Ray had a high schooler. So that's why I'm confused as to how it's working now, because then it was 3 parents actually. I do think there was a school committee member there, maybe not. I could be wrong. Principals, the finance manager. So the
were you there in
superintendent-
capacity as like a PTO president or just as a parent? I'm just
it was
trying
either PTA or parent, probably parent, because I don't think at that point, it was very, very early on. And that's where I learned about the budget and all the things that go into it. And right. Yeah. Right.
to reviews of what?
The
I know.
results.
There I am. That is.
Hear my little Bronx voice later. We had access to all the surveys that were done for the teachers, the staff, the students, and that was part of it.
Like
When we were at the elementary level, we would,
Like survey
the
work?
survey work, oh yeah.
Oh, survey work.
Oh yeah, we had access to all of that. And
Was
so,
it at sit? Was it, we'd have to dig up, think about it. Let us know,
Yeah,
please. Like,
yeah, yeah.
so one, and I want to,
Great information.
the tag
We're
team,
listen,
tag team and
You know
but one
how
of-
we roll.
one of the
We're at
things-
the same address now.
one of the
We
things,
moved.
and again, as we're like processing and doing, and Kathleen, you brought up a great point. So we all keep referring to, and I think we touched on this a lot tonight, the Education Accountability Act. Yes, it was enacted. Yes, it was this. It kind of pushes the power down to the principals. I'm not going to say anything bad about the legislature because but they make the rules. We have to follow them. Just because that's what's in law, and we're checking a lot of boxes like so and so. I agree. Something that came up, I think we collectively need to help empower, again, back to not having HR. We're putting all this stuff on our principals, but where's our HR piece for that? And just because it's there doesn't mean that we're doing it as effectively as we should. And this is no reflection on the principal,
No,
right?
no,
Like I don't
and
want it to
I did
sound,
wanna see
but I
that.
think there's a way to, in theory, this is how it's supposed to be. Bring the decision process as close to like boots on the ground. I embrace that wholeheartedly. And I think everyone would, and I think that was the intent of the legislation. In practice, I don't think it's actually, and this is no fault of anybody's, I think it's a newer process. And I think we need to look as a committee and with parent involvement to how we revamp that. Yes, we need to follow the letter of the law as far as who needs to be there, that's just what we have to do.
It was to empower,
And-
it was to empower the parents. It was to
And
empower.
the building.
I think
So-
is
and
great,
it's
but
not happening.
But
right
when
now.
you
Yeah.
give that power, when you're looking to do that, and I fully get it. And again, I love Mike and I'm not putting this on Mike at all. It seems like there's a framework that has to be followed and boxes have to be checked. And you have an hour to do it and you're
Yeah.
getting parents there. You have
So we
kids
need
that are
to-
on it. And it's like, okay, let's go through it. Let's get through it. And there's not a lot of meat in it. There's not a lot of real stuff in it that really needs to be addressed. And honestly, as a parent, I get more done by just picking up the phone and calling you than sitting at a school improvement meeting for an hour. So
we need to get away from that, right?
yeah,
Like it's
right.
so
But
what
that's
its
my point is like what
intent
it's
is and
intended
that-
for
yeah,
is not
yeah,
being
yeah.
utilized.
And that's not to our principals. That's
no,
to
no,
us
no,
setting up
no.
a different.
I
yeah.
think it's someone who has no clue about how it really
And
works
those
in the
meetings
school
are
that's
open to
decided
the
it.
public, are open to.
Right,
So
but
it
they're
could
at 2:30 in the
yeah.
afternoon. Again,
So-
and to what they're
I know,
saying,
I know.
it's inconvenient. It's inconvenient. So,
So I
the,
think
the
that's-
budget was a big question for me because I do feel like
I went sideways
if
on that.
you
I'm
don't,
sorry.
if you're not looking for it, it's not in your face. If you don't understand how a budget works, you may not get it. And by the time it gets to the financial town meeting, it's done. It's done. So I would just ask that you really consider getting parent involvement somehow, whether it's making the information known to everyone, like, hey, we're in budget workshops and this is the link where you can find everything we worked on. You're going to
Yeah.
get a bunch of questions that, whatever, but parents have the right to know where the money's going.
Yeah,
Sorry,
absolutely.
we do.
Yes,
We do.
Start a communication to every parent, and we actually got a little dinged for it because we're not supposed to do it, to have them see if they could attend the financial
Yeah.
town meeting.
But we need to get.
But it's before that.
Yeah.
It's so far before that.
It's been done in the past.
Yeah.
and We still can't get it.
Well, but at least you did it.
Yeah.
Right. At least you do it.
Well,
So anyway, that's my
we've been
spiel
big-
on that.
Did
Very
you have-
quickly.
I know because we've been.
Yeah. I'm sorry. One last thing. The press box. Can I get an update on the press box?
So the press box is back on the fast track as of today.
Oh, good.
And we are working on the designs to get those to the building inspector. I
Okay.
talked to him today, and we're hoping that we can get that approved. And as soon as those designs are ready and we get those approved, then it's just a matter of it being ordered
Okay.
and then installed.
Okay.
So
Is
and-
this a state building inspector or it's town?
it's the state
It is the
because the
state,
town
okay.
is not,
Doesn't
we're
have-
still, we're still recruiting for our own
Okay.
town. So we
Uh-huh.
actually have 2 people from the state that's working on it for us.
Okay.
And Joe Casali's also trying to help
Okay.
with that.
I know you told me to stay out of it, but I like to
No, but I
be in the
yeah,
know. So
Carolyn,
But
I
if you
just
need
wanna
any
say
help.
over
That's
9
the difference
o'clock, we've got
between
more
staying
people
out
with
of
their
it and
hands in the
asking the
notes.
question. You have a right to know where we are.
I think we're
We've
done with
been
public
trying to get
I'm up
the
at night
state
thinking about
to,
it. So
to work with
yeah,
us to.
and
I'm gonna
we're
go
here to help if
just to the 2 more public comments, and I just want to go back and let's see if we can get
there's
those 2
anyone at
on the
home,
line there. What's the name? Oh, Carissa.
Carissa Bianco.
Carissa Bianco. Hi, Carissa. Can you state your name and your address?
Carissa, you are still muted. If you could just unmute.
Why don't we go back to Carissa and hopefully she can try to
Carissa may
get.
be sleeping. I know Carissa. I was gonna think, I think I have her number. I can text her. But of course she's
Okay,
a teacher,
who
so
else
she's not.
is next there?
Hello?
Alexis, hi. Can you state your name and your address?
Hi, it's Alexis Wilson, 888 Thomas Hill Road. I have a first grader at Clayville Elementary. This is our second year in the Scituate School District, and I am just wondering, Sarah Hess was a teacher at Henry Barnard and had her career start at Henry Barnard apparently, which is, I don't know if you know this, a research school that was ran out of Rhode Island College, which is in Providence. So I don't understand the abruptness of her departure when she seemed to be such a great fit. And I understand that you're saying that there's two sides to every story. But as I'm looking at it, as someone who went to school for education, who has worked in schools adjacent to schools with children, the call seems to be coming from inside the house, seeing as we've already gone through four principals. Now, our fiscal budget for 2024 shows that we pay the superintendent allegedly $150,000. So I just want to know when the accountability starts and what we can expect. I know you guys are saying that you're taking notes and you care, but as I see it, no one has any kids in schools anymore on this committee. So what is keeping you accountable to us and our families that do have kids in the schools right now?
So Alexis, we do have a very detailed performance plan that we put in place for the superintendent. It's a performance process. It's goal setting, and then it's setting those goals, measuring the goals, and bringing out these issues that we hear throughout the year. I do have to tell you, so there is that, and obviously what is being discussed tonight, and I have to tell you, some of the issues have been discussed in the past, that we talked about tonight. I do have to say about Mrs. Hess, she certainly has made an impact on the community and the parents in that community, from what I'm
Yeah, it's
hearing
almost like she was
tonight.
a really good fit for the
I
community if
get that,
everyone is
but
for it.
I understand that, but it goes beyond that sometimes. And I know that relationships are half the battle, but I do appreciate that you at least recognize that there's another whole set of data and facts behind this situation. I do also want to address that there was discussed the turnover issue of the district. We have a lot of leadership
Oh, I
people in
know.
this.
I've been in this meeting the entire time, so I do
No,
know
I
that
just,
there have been I'm talking now. You've been interrupting people all night, and I don't appreciate it.
okay. I'm
I
sorry.
want to know what you intend to do because you say that there are all these goals and all these outlines that the superintendent reaches, correct? She has a set list of goals that she should be reaching throughout her term, correct? You can talk now.
I think yeah, that's, so I'll respond to your piece that, what holds us accountable.
There's four other people on this
Yeah,
committee.
so what holds
Yeah.
us accountable, and I think it's important to note that every person sitting on this table at one point or time did have a child that came through these schools. While it's not a requirement, I don't know how else to beg people to run to be on school committee, because we've done it. It's, people need to step up. So what keeps us accountable certainly isn't the pay, certainly isn't, it's because we care care about this community. We all are part of this community. And we're going to do everything we can to move the Scituate School District forward. Thank you
Which
for
is
your comment.
fantastic. However, as someone who has family in the school system right now and who hears from kids in the middle school and the high school just how involved our budget is and how administration is involved, what are the procedures and the guidelines that we can expect from the school committee and from administration to show that our complaints and concerns will not be met by deaf ears?
Well, can I respond to your first question?
Mhm.
You don't know me. My name's Erica McCormick. Yes, I do not have any children in the school now. I did put 4 children through the school system. So I have been in the system for a long time and I've remained involved in the school. I ran the Students Against Disruptive Decision Club for 15 years. Afterwards, and to be quite honest, I spend hours in training that I just do myself, research, and I am deeply committed into my position, even though I don't have any skin in the game, if you will. I honestly think that it would be really hard to be a parent like Colleen and Kevin were to having kids in the school system. So I think I actually bring a different type of value, even though I don't have kids in the system. I'm deeply committed and very concerned about all kids without even benefiting myself, if that makes sense. So I just wanted to share that with you from my own personal perspective by your first question. And in terms of, could you repeat your second question?
I want to know what exactly is going to hold the school committee and the administration accountable when you say that you care about these kids. And I bet you do, but considering the fact that we have had multiple principals throughout the years, and now we have a new principal, which I'm very excited to get to know as a Clayville parent. But now we have another lapse of staff at another school in our district. And what's going to happen with that grant money? Who is being held accountable and who can we go to see that accountability?
I don't have an action plan in my head right now because, as I said earlier, a lot of people have given me a lot to think about. You will know whether we, as a committee as a whole, respond to this by reaching out to us. I had said earlier, if you have questions, come to a meeting or don't wait for a month. Don't wait another month. You can reach out to me. You can call me. You can email me. The superintendent is responsible for the filling that position at Hope or making sure that it gets filled at Hope, not necessarily, you know, filling it herself because it is up to the principal. Um, and it is on my personal radar that there's clearly an issue. So I will do my own due diligence. I can't work with other school committee members because that is against the law. We can only talk amongst each others here at this meeting or at a meeting. So we have to do it individually. So I don't have an actual plan right now because I'm still absorbing. I don't want to think, I don't want to, speak without thinking. So I want to think first.
Yeah, of course. And that's very mindful. But you're saying that you're not allowed to talk to school committee members about such things because it's against the law. So how are you supposed to take these notes and put them forth and make it into an actionable plan if what you're
That's a
saying is you
That's a
can't?
good question. So for me personally, after I've done my thinking, I will reach out to the superintendent. I can speak to the superintendent, but I can't reach out to my other fellow school committee members because that is a rolling quorum and that's against Open Meeting Act laws.
And
So I'll reach
how
out to
will we know that the superintendent is going to put an action plan together? Because apparently it hasn't been something that they've done in the past if we're already on our fourth principal by now. And now Hope is losing a member of staff that is very love.
I think I'm gonna
I
ask,
will-
I'm
I
gonna,
will get
I'm
back
sorry,
to you.
Erica, just for clarification purposes, and our attorney is still here. I think we're walking a very fine line, talking about a personnel issue and and I'm not, this isn't a reflection
action plan.
to you, but I think she's asking us what we're gonna do, what we're, like, I think, thank you for your comments. I don't know that there's anything else we can respond to with that, John. So I think that I think that we've had over 2 hours of public comment, and for other folks that are here for other reasons, I'm gonna think that we should move forward with the rest of the meeting. I did check with the other woman that had her hand up that hadn't spoken, and she said she was all set, so. You comfortable with that, Madam Chair?
Yeah, I do know if there's anybody, I know there's a couple of people.
Random question. The bleachers at the field, are those permanent or are those, because they're on wheels? Those are staying? Those bleachers are staying? Okay, because like you can't see the first, you spent all this money on bleachers, but you can't see the first four seats.
Yeah.
You can't, I mean, I know I'm short, but my husband's 6'4" and he can't see up either. So like those bleachers were a bad purchase because you can't see any, you burn the whole first four lanes for those. So I don't know, maybe that's the booster in our future, but thank you for answering that.
All right.
Okay, I would encourage anyone that has any other questions or comments to please reach out to the school committee in an email. And we'll also consider what we can discuss at the next meeting. The next item on the agenda is the finance report. I want to read something that came to us from the Government Finance Officers Association. It says, your government should have recently received electronic correspondence that your 2023 annual comprehensive financial report qualifies for the GFAO Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. To commemorate that achievement, enclosed is a medallion which can be added to your existing plaque as a testament to the government's commitment to producing annual reports, evidence the spirit of disclosure and transparency. And I want to congratulate Stephanie as well as Karen Beatty for giving us this award and for
It's
keeping
their
us
award.
and keeping us in the black. So, and with that said, I'll turn the meeting over to you, Stephanie.
Good transition into my audit update.
Okay.
We are moving right along in this year's audit. At this time, we're on track to close without an extension per the auditor. I completed the schedule of federal expenses today. This document is how they pick which grant they'll do the single audit on. Last year, they audited ESSER 3, which was a school grant. And this year, I believe he is going to be picking a grant on the town side from what, I've been told thus far. I am on hopefully the last adjustment file for the quote with RIDE. Our last submission only had 4 adjustments to make. The next step on that file is they review with an E-RIDE consultant where they may change any uses of object codes, location codes, or job classes for a higher drill down of our account codes. Every year they come up with new object codes, location codes, etc. This is an annual submission that goes to RIDE and is adjusted until the 4,000 lines of UCOA are broken out to the highest specifications for data analysis. At this time, there are no material changes to the projected soft close number I gave at our last meeting. And it is still looking like a small surplus in the FY23 budget.
On the budget to actual stuff because of the hour, instead of going line by
I
line,
just have highlights.
give us the nuggets, and mostly, I am concerned that recently we found out that we've got 2 out-of-district placements, and what is that total dollar amount, and how are we going to see how we're going to try to close that gap, but next year?
One thing I did want to mention with the revenue before we move into that is you can see the CTE revenue is low right now. Don't fret. It's because we do quarterly billing and they're a little slow on giving us our payment. We just got $104,000 from them today. It just hasn't been reflected because I already gave you guys the budget to actual.
Overall, though, is that on target?
It is. And it's even better now because billing's on time. So in the salary line, PD has been completed and paid out for the year. So I'm projecting a small surplus there. Other additional compensation buyback line, I'm projecting a shortfall with our historical buyback payments still needing to be paid out and the following following the current trend in other additional compensation, which is any hours over an employee's traditional hours, but under 40. So if you just look at that line, I'm just going to highlight and go through. Unemployment insurance compensation, you'll see there's a projected change there. We do currently have 2 people collecting, and they can collect for up to 26 weeks. So if I'm projecting out, we will be over in that line. Also in the workers' compensation shortfall, we had a current ongoing claim and payout that is going to put us over in that line. Property services, the sewage and cesspool line. We did require additional services this year at one of our buildings and are now breaking out bills from plumbing specific issues in a more detailed manner. So you'll see it was kind of a UCOA issue as well, where now we're seeing more of the sewage and cesspool in that line. Other purchase services, what you initially asked about. The tuition line to private sources. You will see a projected shortfall there as we've been notified of a new potential DCYF student. The cost of that is $107,907.
Student, 107. How many DCYF students do we have now? Is that the only one we have?
No, we have, we have,
Please. That's a big number.
we also have a new outplaced student at around $78,831.
Those 2 students, roughly $200,000.
Yes, we do have a potential student returning to the district that may offset some of that cost. So that's why you can see the line there.
Okay.
Just a quick on my graphs. I know we're trying to move it along.
We're going to let you start first.
Are we still?
That's okay.
Is our budget still, is the surplus for last year still around 24,000? What do we?
It was 6,000.
6,000?
Yeah.
I don't think you can get much closer to zero. Good job.
Thank you.
And this is still, are we on target with this budget or we still have to?
Yep.
So far, even?
We're okay.
Okay.
I'm watching it closely. Just looking at the bar graphs, you can see the trends in our spending. This month, we spent a little bit more than we did last year at that month. So we're just kind of evening out. We're making up for the spending we didn't do, basically. So everything's on target. I'm going to keep doing that because I think it's helpful to see where we're at in comparison to last year.
It was interesting to hear Abby, and I know her like we're not going to be in the next round, but budget process was going to start a little bit later.
Yeah, I think
They have to start later because the whole purpose of us moving to a July 1 is so we could get the state aid numbers and the enrollment numbers secured before our budget is submitted.
Yeah, we'll follow up on because
That seems still way too early.
we were doing, historically, we've done building budgets, I think, in December and that, right? But that's with the old. Yes.
I think you
all I
can
heard to
start.
myself was I need to get the budget books out for the principals. When she said that, I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
no.
Well, let's
Let's follow up on that because we're not even halfway through the fiscal year and we're going to start. Let's see if we can,
that was the benefit for us moving it, the FTM, right?
I
Was
would,
the-
I
so-
would put a timeline together and say, this is our anticipated timeline for the budget preparation and just send it to them and go backwards based on when we're going to get the information from the Department of Ed.
And then my final graph just shows where the expenditures are. I just wanted to make sure we're not spending any differently than we have been prior, because if so, I need to know why. And we're right on what we usually do: supplies, salaries, benefits, purchased and professional services, which is those tuitions.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Anybody have any questions for Stephanie? Okay, new business, discussion, action, vote for the change order for the Scituate High School Pump House Fire Alarm Upgrade. This is the new well, that once, this is for our piece of the well. And after it was, that's okay. After it was, designed, bid, it then came to light that a small fire alarm system would need to be put in place. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. So moved. So moved.
Do I have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Discussion action vote, addendum number 1 to water agreement between the town of Scituate, Rhode Island, acting by the, through its school department and the Scituate Housing Authority. John, do you want to just talk about what that is so they'll
Sure.
just understand it?
Sure. The school committee will recall that at several meetings ago, you passed an agreement between the Scituate School Committee and the Scituate Housing Authority with regard to allowing the Rockland Oaks facility operated by the Scituate Housing Authority to tie into the wells on the Scituate High School campus. The agreement that you previously approved was basically spoke in general terms, and as the project has moved along, we are getting into more granular terms. What this addendum number 1 does with the attachment to it is allocate the costs that the Rockland Oaks or the Scituate Housing Authority will be making towards this project. Stephanie and I are still in the process of working on 3 small issues. So what I'm requesting tonight is that you approve the addendum and you authorize the chair to sign the addendum subject to Stephanie and I working out the 3 small issues that we're still working out with your engineering firm, Northeast Water System Supply Water Services, and the Scituate Housing Authority.
Do I have a motion to approve?
John, let's do it and then just
Yeah.
ask the question.
You want a motion to
So
approve?
moved.
Do I have a second? Discussion.
Just question. So the 3 minor items you have, would that just change the dollar amount?
It could change it and to a small degree,
Okay, but substantially.
Not material.
not material.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, discussion, action, vote. Emerging contaminants in small and disadvantaged communities grant program, grant agreement with the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank regarding the North Scituate Elementary School. This will mitigate the water issues at North Scituate Elementary, and thankful to Jason Martin, who applied for a grant, which is probably going to cover the cost of the entire project. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any announcements? I'd like to thank the parents. I understand, I mean, we can go back and we'll take a look at the tape. But continue to come and continue to advocate. And I've learned a lot tonight about specific issues that have come up that I do think we need to come back as a committee with the superintendent and talk about. I see that there's some weaknesses that we can definitely shore up. But I think I definitely heard you. I probably know a little bit more than some of the other members of the committee. But let me go back and let me listen again. And I encourage you to continue to come, not just because when you have a problem or a concern, but stay involved. Please stay involved. Anybody else like to make any comments or announcements?
You guys are the champs. You made it to the end. It's a lot. It is. And and thank you everybody for your feedback. We absolutely know that you are here advocating for what is, the most important thing. So that's fine.
Your children.
Yeah.
So, okay, thank you.
Can we just adjourn and then we'll
Let
do
me
it? 'Cause
adjourn and then we'll get right back to you.
Bless you. Chris.
I'd like to make do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second, all those in favor? Aye. You want to come on up?
Or
and-
you can do it.